mostly pod out night, mostly. I am Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 46 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. So join us for Cannibalism in the High Desert, and we delve into The Hills Have Eyes. So as we mentioned on our last one, we're doing a first for us, and that is watching the remakes and sequels to remakes in the same episode as the originals. And I can speak from my experience. I have never sat down and watched all 4 of the Hills Have Eyes movies within that short of a time frame. How about you?
No. Well, yeah, I've watched, The Hills Have Eyes I watched a long time ago, and the remake and then the sequels to the remake I watched when they came out once each.
Yes.
I've never seen the sequel to the original one. Like, I remember wanting, it was like, oh, there's a sequel, I should watch that. And then, like, everybody who I talked to was like, no, don't. Don't bother. I'm like, okay, so I never did. And now I know why, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's... that movie was definitely something else. But we will get into that in a bit. So, funny enough, the way it's our on and offs is the way this is going to work out was we always do these in chronological order. Is I'll be doing The Hills Have Eyes and The Hills Have Eyes, and Salem will be doing The Hills Have Eyes 2 and Part 2. So, 2 stories very similar, 2 stories not at all.
Right? Yeah, I got the hard job. You got the easy job.
You have the ones that have most things to talk about.
Oh, right.
All right. And as normal, we will have our out of 10s, and for anyone who's seen these movies, 3 of 4 of them have really good boys in them. So we're doing good boys out of 10 because the kill count for Beast is the highest of anyone in these movies.
Well, yeah, especially if you combine them. He's a monster.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so let's get into the original 1977 Hills Have Eyes. And just side note is Wes Craven directed the first 2, wrote 3 of these. And only one of them, the remake, he was not involved with. So it's really, really interesting that the remake happened. He was executive producer. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to make a sequel to the remake of my movie. So he wrote it with, he said, his son.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what's bizarre to me. Okay, because he wrote and directed the first one. He wrote and directed the second one. Right. He was just a producer for the remake, and the remake is, pretty close to the original. Right. It's not exact, but pretty close. And then he writes the sequel to the remake that is absolutely nothing like his original sequel. But he names it the same. It's bizarre. I don't understand what the thinking was there. Like, he could have just named it something else, but no.
The Hills Still Have Eyes?
Yeah, or something. I don't know. Like, he's like, The Hills Have Eyes too. He already wrote a movie with that name. Why would you write another movie with the same name with a completely different storyline?
Yeah, that has to be a first.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the same guy writing a movie with the same name with completely different storylines. They do have themes that are similar, but the storylines are totally different.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else that's ever done that.
No, there's been movies that have had the same name, but never by the same guy.
Correct. In movie-wise, TV shows and books, as it's off topic, Thrawn, obviously, from Star Wars, it's the same guy who's like, hey, you want to redo Thrawn? Sure. All right. Change it up a little bit, right?
Right, yeah, but they're like, hey, we want to put Thrawn in the new canon, but, like, there's some stuff we can't use, so why don't you just rewrite it? Here's a whole bunch of, here's Disney money. Right. All right, yeah, Disney money, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know if we'll ever see this again in a series like this. We'll have to keep that in mind as we go through these, because we've done some major ones, and people generally don't come back and do a remake of a movie they've already done.
Right.
So, all right. So, Hills Have Eyes starts off with they're in Nevada?
New Mexico.
Close. They're coming from essentially, didn't they say like Chicago? All the way to LA?
Cleveland.
So they drove through Chicago.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to the Carter family that has Big Bob Carter, the mom Ethel, who are celebrating their silver anniversary. And this is where numbers get a little weird, is because it's only 25th anniversary.
Right. And their daughter is like 30. Right. So, I mean, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but she's like married with a kid. Okay, this is 1977. So like married with a kid in 77, she could be like 25.
Correct.
She looks 30. How about that? She looks 30. She's a 77-30.
Yes. And she really was 30. And it's Dee Wallace, who is, a big horror icon, the mom from E.T., the female werewolf from The Howling. Big horror icon, Dee Wallace.
Which is probably the biggest name in this movie.
Yeah. Second's probably Michael Berryman.
Right. But I'm saying, like, she's probably the biggest, like, well-known, successful person in this movie. Michael Berryman is successful, but he's like cult successful.
Oh yeah, you see him, be like, oh, I know that guy.
Right? Yeah, like Michael Berryman, like who? Who's that name? You're like, oh, look at this bald guy. Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah, yes. So she's married. So Dee Wallace is married to, was it Bobby?
No, Bobby is the young one. What was his?
Doug.
Doug.
Yeah. And he's dragged along, and he's clearly not happy being there because he's the son-in-law. He's the only one not part actual blood of the family. They're in a station wagon that has, showing the power of cars. A station wagon pulling in like a streamline, essentially, right?
Well, yeah, like an old school trailer. Well, yeah, like Winnebago trailer. Right?
Yeah. And then we also have a younger sister and brother. That's Bobby and Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
We have the baby, which they just call Baby a lot. I don't remember her name of the baby.
Catherine was her name.
Catherine. Okay.
He says it like twice. They say it like one time when the baby was in danger the first time, and then he says it again when he's running after the baby later.
But every other time it's like, give me my baby.
Right, yeah. Every other time it's just baby by everyone else in the movie. But yeah, he does say the name like twice.
Yes. And then we have two German Shepherds, Beauty and Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the most important characters in this movie.
Yeah, correct. This story is really about Beast.
Absolutely.
It is his story.
So they're driving through, and we see a gas station attendant before they get there, going through a bunch of people's stuff that's all seems relatively new. He's concerned when Ruby shows up and hides her because he's afraid of something that's out there. And he explicitly say what, but he's very concerned, like, oh, she's trying to escape. Oh, Papa Jupe is going to get mad at me. I don't want to go through this stuff. And then they show up, and he's like, trying to warn them, like, hey, stick to the highway. You don't want to get off the highway. And I'm just throwing this out right now. This character is very different in the remake.
Yes, he really is. Really, really
Completely different person.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a few different, like, ways that he says things, and it really makes him a totally different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in this one, he's like, looking out,
warning them. Yeah.
Right. Like, okay, like, stay on the paved road. Like, one, you shouldn't be here at all. Two, if you're gonna go through here, stick to the paved road. And of course, Dad, Big Bob, knows better.
Yes, because Big Bob was a detective or a patrolman, so he's
a retired detective from Cleveland, and he retired early because he has some kind of heart condition.
Right, and once again, I feel like he's 60 and is only celebrating his 25th.
Right. Well, okay, here's the goofy thing. Like, I was like, you guys didn't need to go this far. I don't understand why they're saying this, but like, they were like, there was some like weird subplot here where like it was their silver anniversary. So like one of their like great aunts like gifted them an old silver mine.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And so they're taking their anniversary to go to this silver mine to try to like mine silver, I guess.
For their
I don't
silver
know.
anniversary.
Right. I don't know what they're doing, but this is his goal. And like the reason why he goes off of the paved road against this guy's wishes is because he thinks he knows where the silver mine is. And he thinks the guy is just telling him that so he can't find his silver mine.
Yeah.
Which is dumb. I mean, I don't get that, whatever. But that's the whole reasoning why he goes off the beaten path.
Yes. So it's a very, very convoluted story just to get to this point in the desert.
I mean, it's immediately dropped after this. It's just, this is the reason why he does that, I guess.
Yes.
I guess it's fair because a lot of movies don't even bother explaining it. They just do it.
Correct.
So at least they did it.
Yes. And he's talking about that this, in the 20s and 30s, that the area then was an old artillery range, essentially, right? Because it's before the A-bomb, which obviously gets changed and updated for the new ones.
Well, yeah, but that also they also hint at that in the sequel to this too. Yeah. But they just hint at it. But this one they don't say it at all. They just say it's literally a Air Force testing ground is what they call it.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, they say, like there's going to be planes and explosions, but they don't say anything about nuclear stuff. That comes later.
Right.
Not in this movie, later in other movies.
Correct. So, there's a bunch of stuff. You can tell that Big Bob doesn't like his son-in-law, Doug, because of his 70s porno stash. And
they both have 70s stashes.
Yes, but I guess in 60-year-olds is different than the.
Well, I don't think he likes Doug because Doug is porking his daughters. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that's fair.
What his thing is.
So anyway, they're driving along. They get off the road because they're still going to go out the mine because they decided the gas station attendant was crazy. You're doomed. So, Fred from or George, Crazy George from Camp Crystal Lake. So anyway, so they get kind of startled. They drive off track and they crash. And they break an axle.
Right.
And the axle.
The best part is when the dad gets out and immediately starts blaming the mom. Like he did it. He was like, he got spooked. He stomped on the gas. He swerved all over the place because he didn't know how to drive with the trailer. And then he smashed into a rock and snapped the axle. It was totally his fault. And then he gets out of the car and immediately starts blaming his wife for reading the map wrong. Like typical 70s asshole, retired cop dad.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so they get out, Big Bob thought he was going to be able to fix it, but they realized he wasn't going to be able to fix a broken axle.
Oh, right. Because,
he is like that dad that has to be right, that has to drive everything. Everything has to be his way.
Have you ever actually seen a broken axle in real life?
No.
I did once. It was I won't go into the specifics of the accident, but let's say I was in an accident in a it was an old Trans Am, and it involved a lot of spinning and smashing, and then whatever, everybody was fine, but we got out of the car and we're all like, my buddy was like, oh look, the tire's still in the road, the tire must have fell off. And he runs in the road and he grabs the tire and he goes, oh man, this is heavy. And he has to roll it over. He can't even pick it up. He rolls it over and we look and literally the rotor, the wheel, the brakes, everything is still attached to the wheel and it's got the piece of axle sticking up and it's just snapped off. Wow. It was crazy. And it was like you said, very heavy.
So essentially they're like, okay, they're kind of camping out a little bit. They let Beauty and Beast out, and they start going crazy, and they just run away to the hills. They're like, okay. I'm like, okay.
Well, to be fair, only one of them ran away.
Well, Beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty, ran to the hills. Bobby hears her and kind of starts animal noises that aren't necessarily dog, but still animal like. Bobby, the youngest son, chases after Beauty, finds her mutilated, like cut open.
Yeah. I guess you should specify that at this point, Big Bob and Doug are gone.
You're right. Yeah, because they go one way. They go separate ways trying to find help. Big Bob is going back to this gas station. Doug is sent out to try to find where the road leads. Let's see if there's anything down there.
Because I think they said there was like some kind of like military base on the map. So he was supposed to go that way to look at the military base, and then Big Bob was supposed to go back to the gas station.
Yes. So yeah, he finds, we don't see him in this one, I don't think so, finding a whole bunch of stuff, like new stuff that's like equipment that he can bring and use, like, you know, where he can sell this, like wiring and stuff like that. But anyway, Bobby finds Beauty just torn up. He kind of is frightened, obviously, seeing your dog torn up, and kind of runs, falls, and bashes his head pretty good on a rock.
Right, yeah.
Well,
yeah, you should also, I guess we should also specify that the dog has obviously been like gutted.
Yes.
Like, this is not like the dog, like, you know, found another animal in the wild and got killed. No, this is like someone like killed it and then like gutted it.
Carved it, yeah.
Right. So it's like obviously a person was involved.
Yes. Yeah, and then I think do we get a scene of them eating the dog then, with Ruby eating it?
It's a bit later. I think that's after their first visit.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Yeah. So you know, the mom's like, okay, Doug, why do you have all this stuff? Is this gonna be helpful? No, but we can make money. Like, who cares?
Right.
Right. And when I get to it later, he's also portrayed the same way, just different things he finds. I think this is where, you know, he, like I said, so Doug came back, and then they're kind of nestling in for the night, and they're going to sleep in their, you know, they're in the trailer. It's like, oh, you can sleep on the floor, because Bobby does come back. He has a couple of scrapes on his head. No, that's later. Sorry.
He does come back, but he doesn't tell anybody about what he saw.
Correct.
So they're like, the mom and the daughters make dinner, and they all sit around and eat, and then, again, Bobby's all like kind of nervous-ish.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's the point where Doug comes back with all the junk. And then they decide that, we're just gonna, like, you know, tuck it in for the night. And they're like, well, Dad's not back yet. He's like, yeah, well, he had to walk like 15 miles, so it might take him a while.
Right. If he's not back by 11, we'll go, you know, Bobby's he's like, yeah, meanwhile, I'm going to go bone your sister in the back of this car.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah. It's like,
you watch our kids so we can go bone.
Right. I mean, literally, dude, you're like stranded in the desert. Like, you can't like keep it in your pants for like one day, dude.
No. They had to go bone.
Dear Lord.
Meanwhile, you know, Big Bob makes it back to the gas station. He kind of finds Fred, just like Fred was trying to leave too, because he had packed up like a pig that Bobby clearly set free early on. They first visited him for some reason.
No, Ruby did.
Ruby did?
Ruby took it.
Oh, okay.
That's what the scene at the end comes in.
Gotcha. So yeah, you can tell that the gas station owner is very torn up. He's like, yeah, so, you know, I had a kid that was 20 pounds when he was born and tore my wife in half coming out. And he's like, you know, by time he was like 10, he was bigger than I was. He also had a daughter, and he names his son Jupiter. So we are, you know, throwing this out now, lots of planetary names for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whose Papa Jupe is.
Jupiter, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Jupiter, as a kid, kills all his livestock and kills his baby sister.
And his wife.
Well, wife, yeah, the new wife.
Right.
Yes. So his stepmom, let's say. So he tried what?
Well, no,
Burning him alive?
I think she survived the birth.
Oh.
I think he said it almost killed her.
Okay.
So I think she survived the birth and then had another child, and then he went off to work and came back, and the house was on fire, and Jupiter had killed the mom and the sister, and then burned the house down.
Right, and he talked about that he should have killed him early on. He tried killing him, hit him with a tire iron, and kind of just left him. And if he wasn't dead, he's dead now.
Right.
Clearly not.
Well,
So,
yeah. I mean, well, he knew that at this point. He was just telling him that in the beginning. He beat him with a tire iron until his face split open, and then he dragged him out in the middle of the desert and left him there.
Right.
Which would have killed just about anyone else.
Yes, but not this monster of a man.
Correct.
So yeah, he's warning him about all this stuff. He tells him about the story that he ended up having kids with some prostitute.
Yeah, he said, what did he say? Like some whore nobody cared about or something like that. Yeah, they don't really describe where she came from. That's the only description you get.
Correct. And we see her later, and it's Mama, and and Ruby talks about her, that they had 3 sons, Mars, Pluto, and Mercury, a daughter who said that her mama wanted to be a movie star, which when you see a mama, you go, clearly she's fine being there.
I just don't understand. Here's the thing that I was like, wait, what? Because, okay, dad's name's Jupiter, right?
Yes.
Sons, Mars, Pluto, Mercury, daughter, Ruby?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I mean, look at the planets. Okay. There's one planet with a female name.
Venus?
Why would you not use that name? That doesn't make... I was like, what? What do you mean? How do you have 3 kids named after planets and then you have one girl and there's literally a name sitting right there and you don't use it?
Yes.
That was like irking me. I'm like, come on. Come on.
Yeah. So they all call him Papa Jupes, and that they're cannibals. And that's how they survive, is they get the people that go off the beaten path, kill them, and eat them, and steal all the supplies for unknown purposes. It's not like they steal supplies to get money for things. But, that's when Ruby was running away, she had taken a whole bunch of things that she was going to sell and, go from there. So anyway, he's really regretting. He's like, kind of, sorry for all this. And all of a sudden, Papa Jupiter comes barging through and kills the gas station attendant with a tire iron. Just to get revenge. What? 50 years later.
Yeah. Well, this is after the dad leaves. Like the dad eventually leaves, and then that happens, and then Jupiter catches up to him.
Jupiter catches up to Big Bob, and then he crucifies him. Like he takes stakes and just pins him up. And while that we see him like pounding the stakes into his hand and all that stuff. Anyway, then we crucifying doesn't kill anyone necessarily. It takes time for the blood to drain out. It's just kind of a way to hold people up. Meanwhile, then Bobby is finally able to talk about kind of what happened about Beauty. So then they're all sleeping, and this is when the first attack happens on the trailer.
Well, Bobby goes out to the car. He waits till they're in mid-bone before he decides to tell them.
Like, it says 11.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock, guys. I got to tell you about Beauty now. Like, he doesn't, like, the windows are all fogged up. He's like, they're always like, okay, come on, Bobby, leave us alone. Right. He's going to decide right at that moment. Yeah, so yeah.
Like, he's watching his clock.
Right.
So they were going to go to get ready, so they get out of boning and start getting stuff together. Then attack happens.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, at this point, so Mom and Brenda and the baby are all asleep in the trailer.
Yes.
Bobby is out by the station wagon while Doug and, what was his older sister's name? Lynn. Her name was Lynn, I think.
Yeah.
The older sister's name was Lynn. So while Lynn and Doug are like getting buttoned up, and like, getting ready to go do something, that's when, they
because Bobby was very adamant about keeping the trailer locked the entire time, but he goes out there and leaves the door unlocked.
Right.
And that's a very big point that they show multiple times, and show him not locking it. So then we are introduced while everyone else is kind of sleeping. Pluto, played by Michael Berryman, is all of a sudden in there, and he's kind of like, he sees the baby, right?
Well, no, the baby they don't see yet. He goes straight for Brenda.
Yes. So he's like, all right, hey, he's talking through a CB radio, like, now, do it now. All of a sudden, you see Bob on fire.
Well, he does that after, because Pluto goes after Brenda, so there's like wrestling around, like trying to, like, whatever, sexually assault Brenda. Yeah. Mars, his older brother, comes in and starts hitting him like, "You're not a man yet. You can't do that. Only man can do that."
Yeah.
And then so they're like wrestling around, and then so he brings Brenda in like the back room. And so he's like having a fit and like trashing the place around. So the mom wakes up. So like he's like holding down the mom. And at this point, Bobby hears something. And Bobby goes to open up the door to the trailer. And that's when he said, "Now do it."
Yeah. You're correct. His older brother does bite the head off a bird and drink its blood.
Yep.
Then, Big Bob's on fire. So everyone's trying to extinguish him. Everyone's trying to get out.
Well, that's another funny part is, Doug runs into the trailer and grabs the fire extinguisher and literally yells at Brenda to watch the baby, like as she's being assaulted in the back room.
Correct. He couldn't hear that struggle, which is really weird.
Right.
So everyone kind of gets, Bob's dead. The mom gets shot. His wife, Dee Wallace, gets shot in the head.
Yep.
They're able to put out Big Bob, but he's a toasty critter at this point in time.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's still mumbling, but yeah, he's not long for this world.
Correct.
And smoke coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. So that's when they came back from trying to save Bob. The mom's clearly distraught. This is when they die. Pluto then takes the baby.
The tenderloin.
The tenderloin, yeah. And but before Lynn dies, she is able to stab Mars pretty good in, like, I don't know what vein you call that, in the groin area. He's stuck like a pig.
Well, yeah, I would say the femoral artery, but if it was the femoral artery, he would have died.
Yeah.
Right.
But so really close to it.
Yeah, it was somewhere that hurts a lot and bleeds a lot, but not enough to kill. So not the femoral artery, but like femoral artery adjacent.
Yes. So Lynn's dead from the shot to the head. The tenderloin's taken. The mom was shot in the gut, but still kind of alive.
Right.
So then, they run away. Then we get back to their home. I think this is where we see Ruby eating the beauty, and she hears dog barking. Like, I hear the dog's ghost out there.
Right.
His mom like, "Don't you like dog no more? Eat up." Mama was very at home.
That's like Mama's only line, like in the whole movie. She's like, now she's just gone for the rest of the movie. She never makes another appearance.
Yeah. Because Ruby's chained outside. You see that. So then all of a sudden, the ghost dog Beast comes up and just pushes the Mercury to his death off the cliff.
Right.
one kill for the beast already.
Right. Well,
Going
Michael
on.
Berryman, yeah, he's like talking to him on the radio, and he says, Mercury! Like, he doesn't say Mercury. He says, like, Mercury! It took me a while to figure out what the hell is he saying. He's saying Mercury, but he's saying Mercury. He's saying it goofy.
Yes. So yeah. So that's the end of the night. Mom dies in the middle of the night. And they were like, all right, we have to have our kind of last stand. We have to get our tenderloin, baby back. So they kind of, put the blankets over him. So Doug's gonna go get his baby back. And like I said, then the two, Bobby and Brenda, are setting stuff up, and they tie to a stripped tire, a chain that is wrapped around their dead mother's chair that they put out in the desert as bait. I think they have a gun.
Yeah, they have a gun because there was two guns. Big Bob had the one gun, and he shot 4 times blindly trying to get Papa Jupe, but he didn't get him. So Papa Jupe got the gun. He apparently gave it to Mars because Mars had the same gun later on, and that was the 2 shots that he used to kill the mom and Lynn, the sister. And then the other gun was like a 1911, so it had 8 rounds, and he shot like 5 rounds at them when they were running away. So he has like 2 rounds left.
Yeah. So they're doing kind of all that. So a whole bunch of cave parkouring starts happening as he's chasing Pluto around. Doug is chasing Pluto around. And then, while he's doing that, Beast comes out and just bites Pluto's ankle and tears it up pretty good. And then kind of comes back and just rips his throat.
Yep.
Seemingly, Pluto's dead. Yep. At this point in time, Pluto is dead. 2 kills for Beast.
Right.
So while that's happening, there's still Mars around. They're still doing this cat and mouse, and there is Ruby kind of running around with them with the tenderloin, with the baby. He can't tell where she is. There's like 5 stories up all of a sudden on another cave.
Well, yeah, because Ruby's like acted weird, like, hey, don't kill the baby, and he's like, shut up, whatever. And then Papa Jupe, once stuff starts going down, Papa Jupe is like, kill the baby, so he goes to kill the baby, and then Ruby's like, oh, here's the baby, and then she runs away. But when she gives him the baby, it's really the little pig that she stole from the gas station earlier. So he's like, oh, so he goes to chase after Ruby, but of course his leg is like hurt. So he can't run that fast, and Ruby is so fast.
Right, very fast. She's the perfect actress for the job because she can outrun anyone else.
Right, she can outrun all the other actresses for the part, so she's super fast.
That was an interesting fact that we looked up.
Right.
So then Papa Jupe is going to kill the rest of the family there. So he is they're going to trap him. They kind of like get a lasso around him and run the car, and he starts dragging him all over the place. While that's going on there, Doug's attacking and almost getting killed by Mars. Ruby comes out and just helps stab Mars. And then
she uses the rattlesnake.
Uses the rattlesnake, which the snake before was clearly a different scene from the rest of the movie. She picks up, bites him, he dead.
Right. Even though in real life it takes like 30 minutes.
Correct.
Or an hour to die from it. He dies immediately.
Yes. But then Doug also does stab him a few times.
Well, that's true, I guess.
And meanwhile, Bobby and Brenda are setting up the matches on the door and go out the back window of the Streamline RV for Papa Jupe to have it. They open up all their valves to blow him up. It got really far away. It blows up. Like, cool, he's dead. Like, we should go check. Now I have to remind you that Brenda has been screaming for the last 20 minutes.
Dear God, yes. Okay,
that's all she did after that point in time.
Spoiler alert. That's going to be on. That's going to be mentioned by me in a little bit.
And so they end up killing him, right?
Papa Jupe.
Yeah,
because they try to trick him by they like
yeah,
all the gas is in the trailer, like, and they put the matches on the door, so it's supposed to blow up when he opens the door. But
right.
Papa Jupe is too smart for that because he smells the gas. So the big explosion happens. So they go down to like try to find his body, and of course he wasn't there. So he jumps out and attacks them, and then they fight back and forth, and then he ends up shooting him with the last 2 bullets of the gun, and then they end up stabbing him the rest of the way.
Yeah, Papa Jupe dead. Everybody dead.
Right.
End of movie.
Well, yeah. Doug and the baby, come back, and then supposedly Bobby and Brenda. Yeah, and
Mama's somewhere.
Right. Yeah, like I said, Mama just leaves the movie after that line. She's just no longer necessary.
Yep,
she's just gone.
Yes. End of movie.
Yep.
I'll go on to this. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've seen this movie. I'm gonna go with at least 20 years.
Oh wow.
It's not. It's a good movie. They're talking about they're supposed to be cannibals, that horrific things, and their mutations are, one of them's hairy, one of them's not.
Yeah,
Mama's kind of big. That's about it.
Yeah, they're not really like mutants. They're just like mean.
The hill folk.
Yeah, they're mean old hill folk.
And when I set these up, my wife goes, "I'm not watching this with you." I'm like, "We're watching the originals. You're going to be fine. I promise you."
Yeah, there's remakes. Yeah, most of the bad things that would have happened are like done off screen or very limited, visuals. So,
which is surprising because especially some of the stuff we've watched in the past couple of weeks, this is the 70s and Wes Craven.
Well, yeah, like Wes Craven
potential to like.
Right. Like, what movie did he make just a couple years before that was disturbing as hell?
Right. Yeah.
This movie's like, I was gonna say this movie's like a PG version of Last House on the Left.
And it's after watching this again, I realized this is something that I should watch more often than I do, because it does have a place in the horror world, and for a very good reason. Is it dated a bit, a little bit, but it's still nothing wrong with it as a whole. And I just watching on the rewatch, realized, this is a good movie. I liked this. Do you remember your first thoughts on it, or anything noticeable in the rewatches for you?
I don't even remember the first time I saw this. I was a kid when I first saw it. And like I said, thankfully this one is, rather tame as far as like this time period goes, especially even as Wes Craven goes in this time period. It's pretty tame. So although, I think I watched it on TV the first time, and again, on TV, you're not really missing much. Even a censored version of this, there's not a whole lot that's cut out. You get the gist of it. I probably watched it on cable or something. I don't remember when. It was a kid though, and I've always like held it like, it was always like a special place in my heart, because I've always loved like the hill folk stories. They're always they've always terrified me. There's always something that's very easy to scare me. Like, I've driven through West Virginia several times, and I like refuse to get out of the car. I'm like, no, we're going to drive all the way through West Virginia. We're not getting out of the car. We're staying on the highway. It's like almost every
Appalachian hill folk. Yeah.
Right. It's like every crazy hill folk movie happens in West Virginia. And I'm just like, I don't want it to happen. Like if you ever driven, I forgot what highway it is, but there's a highway where like you drive and you're in West Virginia. You're like, oh crap, I'm in West Virginia. Don't get out of the car. Don't get out of the car. And you're driving for a while and you hit Pennsylvania. You're like, oh, we're safe. Great. And then you get out of Pennsylvania, and then you're back in West Virginia again. It's like, no! It's only for a little while, but it's scary.
Well, and with I enjoy hill folk as well. It bothers the wife a lot too. So when we went even up into the Michigan area, we got off the beaten path. All of a sudden, we're like going through forest and like hidden driveways. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is where we die.
Well, Last House on the Left. Yeah, well, Last House on the Left was probably like up in like Michigan. It felt like a Midwestern-y area.
I know. Yeah. So I'm just like, I completely agree with you in the hill folk. Like, all right, this is like, You hear a band playing, run.
Yeah, it's exactly. But yeah, I don't remember the exact time. It just, I've always liked it. I mean, of course, like, and they even know this for like movie posters. Like Mikey Berryman, like pretty much is this movie. I mean, he
Absolutely.
doesn't play a huge role in the movie. I mean, as far as like everything goes, he probably has the most screen time of all the bad people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not by much though. I mean, like Mars and Jupiter are in a lot, but he's probably like, obviously when you look at the poster, he's the guy on the poster. You look at Hills Have Eyes too. He's the guy on the poster. Yes. He's on like everything. So I mean, that's he's like an iconic guy. He's in a lot of a bunch of other movies around in the 80s and stuff. And this is where I always knew him from first. But he always kind of has that same like borderline post-apocalyptic hill folk look.
Yes,
and just about everything that he's in. But yeah, that's the thing that I mainly remember. When you're a kid, you just remember if it was good or not. You remember a couple of scenes here and there, and that's about it. Yeah. But yeah, in the rewatch, no, I mean, it still holds up pretty well. I mean, obviously there's, it's dated to where there's no, like cell phones or anything like that. But I mean, even it's very easily explained as it's a dead area, right? You're in the middle of the desert. Like no one's expecting a cell phone to work in the middle of the desert, right? Even now, you don't expect a cell phone to work in the middle of the desert. So it's very easily explainable away that cell phones don't work, which they do in the sequel. What they don't really mention it a whole lot, but it's very easily explained away.
Yes.
So I mean, if you don't think about the whole cell phone thing, it really isn't that odd, other than their clothes. I mean, their clothes are very 70s.
Yes, and the stash.
Yep. Yeah. And dad's attitude. but other than it's still a good movie. It's still a movie that I like to watch every once in a while. It's like a once a decade watch. It's not a lot of times, but like I'd like to, every 10 years I'll watch it.
Yeah, and I'll say that Dad's style now. If they remade this right now, Big Bob would be a Trumper.
Well. He basically is in the remake.
Yeah, yes, he is.
He calls Doug a Democrat. You know what I mean? And he literally says, "Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition." So I mean, it's like even that was pre-Trump era, but he still had he had that vibe. He like that vibe was coming up, and he was riding that
way. Yeah. So I'll start with highlights. I mean, the acting wasn't horrendous in this. I think people did a good job. I think the gas station tent did a good job. I think, like I said, the family, and the biggest name, Dee Wallace, this is probably one of her earliest stuff, get killed pretty early. But I mean, best highlight, Beast.
I agree. That's my highlight too, as you very rarely see. I mean, like I said, this movie is basically a revenge tale of Beast taking revenge on these people for killing his mate, Beauty.
Yes.
Right? And then he goes off on his own quest. Like, literally, he's by himself most of the movie. Like, he's on his quest to get vengeance on these people. And he ends up killing 2 of them. And at least it's assisting in at least 1 more.
Yes.
He's definitely the highlight of this. I would say just my other highlight is just the whole kind of like hill folk vibe that they had. It wasn't crazy over the top. It was like semi-believable. They were just wearing like pelts and bones and like old bullets, because of course this is like a military training kind of area. So like, you'd find a lot of bullet casings and stuff like that. And that was kind of like the adornments that they had was like little bones and bullet casings, which makes sense for where they are.
Right.
But yeah, it felt like they were, dressed and kind of, the look that they had was exactly what they would be like in the, if you imagine cannibal hill folk in the desert, this is like realistically what they would be wearing.
Correct. And there's nothing that off about them. They're just people.
Right. Yeah. They look like crazy survivalist people.
Yeah.
It's not like they're wearing like, human skulls on their neck or anything. They just look like trappers, like trappers in like the old 1800s movies when they're always like covered in pelts and bones. That's what they look like.
Yeah. I'll go into my low point. Obviously, Beauty is a low point.
Yeah. Poor Beauty.
For me.
Poor Beauty. Yeah. Like immediately.
Yeah. Immediate. Yeah. And I know you're gonna say this too. Is Brenda's last 20 minutes of lines are just pure screaming.
Oh my god. It's like literally like the background noise for like like you said 15 20 minutes of the movie. It's just her screaming. And like literally everybody is telling you like stop, shut up. Like please
Right.
stop. We're trying to think. We're trying to like and it's just nonstop. Okay, don't get me wrong. She went through some horrible stuff, right? She got like assaulted by two crazy hill folk. I'm not saying that she should not be upset. She has every right to be upset, but like, hey, you're in this situation. Can you kind of do it quietly? Like
Right.
we're getting hunted here. Please keep it down. We'll all go to therapy later, but right now I need you to like hold it in for a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any other little points?
Okay. Mars's hair is ridiculous. It's like he had an afro to begin with, and then they put an afro wig on top of it. It is like so huge and ridiculous. It's like it looks like he's wearing a mountain of hair on his head, and it looks very, very fake. And it is hilarious.
I mean, yeah.
You have to see it to believe it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It absolutely.
And then of course, Pluto is the exact opposite, who has no hair at all.
Correct. All right. So let's get into how many good boys out of 10. This, like I said, it is a quintessential horror movie that should be on everyone's list. If you ever meet someone that wants to get into horror movies, this is a great one to give to them, because you're going to really have the evolution of Hillfolk kind of starting here. I would almost say, like, obviously, I Spit in Your Grave was a year later. Those Hillfolk are very different.
Well, I would say that. Well, this is the thing that started for me. I'm pretty sure it started for a lot of people is Deliverance.
Yeah,
I would say Deliverance started the whole Hillfolk being terrifying thing to me, and this came out after Deliverance. So, like, I mean, it just kind of. Well, this is a different kind. This is like
horror,
Western, different area. Yeah, not Appalachian Hillfolk. This is like desert Hillfolk, a little bit different.
Yes.
But that's what I think started the whole thing, at least for me.
Yeah. Like I said, this is an easy watch, realistically, of the stuff we've been watching. And it's a good entry into Wes Craven's resume. So I think I'm giving it 8.5 good boys out of 10. How about you?
Yeah, I'll also add that it's most of this movie takes place in broad daylight.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the things that would always be done at night and just about every other movie, it's just broad daylight. Not all of it. Some of this stuff happens at night, but a lot of this stuff does happen at during the day, like literally like noon, like very bright day, which is rare. But yeah, no, I'll give this movie, we'll give it 8 good boys out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's like I said, it's a shame that I don't watch it more often than I do. And, I'm sure it'll be on my list to do it more often. I don't know if it'll be every couple of years, but as you said, every 10, probably good enough.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie, but it's not one you want to watch really often. It's just every once in a while when you kind of forget the details, rewatch. It's good. It's a good time.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, then why don't you bring us into the 1985?
Hills Have Eyes 2. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm not going to be ashamed to admit that I was drinking while this movie was going on, and as certain scenes were happening, I was drinking a lot more than I normally do because I was like trying to struggle through some of these scenes here. So I might stumble a bit, but I'll get there. So anyway, so Hills Have Eyes 2 basically starts off to where Bobby, this is the original actor, Bobby, yep. And Ruby, who is now called Rachel, still same actress and everything. Yep. They decide to start their own like motocross company, to where Bobby has developed this new kind of like super formula fuel that's supposed to like make motocross bikes go so fast that they'll like blow away the competition, right?
Yes.
So they're planning on going to this big race in the desert. And right around in New Mexico, right around where the first movie happened. It's not going to be there, but it's going to be right next to there. And so they're going to go, like, they have their own team of motocross people, and they're sending their whole team to these like race trials. And like, this is where they're making their big debut of their fuel. And they're supposed to like show off this fuel, and they're going to get all this money and deals and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Big money. This is a successful thing. So, they're going out there. Now it's Bobby, who I guess is like the idea man for the company. Rachel, who is Ruby, the hill folk from the first one, is now like within the last, what was it, 7 years or 8 years?
Yeah.
Within the last 7 or 8 years, she's somehow like gone to business school and become like a director of operations. And like, she like runs the day to day of the entire company and talks like she's like from the corporate world. Like she wasn't hill folk at all 7 years ago. And then they have this team of, I don't know how many is it. It's like 4 guys and then all their girlfriends, right?
Yes.
And I'm not being ridiculous. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, some of the girls have jobs and they're just like tend to be their girlfriends. No, like literally the 4 guys are the ones with the jobs, and then they just bring their girlfriends with them. Like, the girlfriends don't have any other purpose other than just being girlfriends.
Correct.
So we have, I don't know, Roy as the main guy and his girlfriend Cass, who's blind. But again, I hate when movies do this stuff. Okay, they like, someone has an obvious handicap, right? And I'm not saying handicapped people can't live normal lives. They absolutely can. But I'm saying that movies do this stuff where they give them like supernatural powers. Right.
She is Matt Murdock.
Right. Yeah, like she can't see, but like she can hear things from like miles away. Like, I mean, it's they like immediately start with this stuff. Like, they say that she has psychic powers. Like, yes. I'm not even making this up. They say that she does, because again, she's blind. She has a handicap. So therefore she must have magical power. It's so ridiculous. They always did this in the 80s. Anybody that had a handicap was like magical.
Yes.
Anyway, just want to, my pet peeves about movies. Anyway, so and then the rest of them, it don't even matter really.
Nope.
There's like, those are the only 2 that really kind of have to be named. Yeah. So I think there was 4 total guys and then 4 total girls, right? Or was there 4 guys and 3 girls? I think there was 4 guys, 3 girls, and then Rachel was the 4th.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, so they're all going to go on this thing, right? They have this bus, and they're all going to go down to this big race and have fun.
Minus Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby has literally a breakdown to where he like freaks out and he panics. He's like, I can't go back there. I can't go in the desert. I'm not going to go. So they go, okay, see you later. Bobby is now out of the movie. It's this weird to me that they brought the same actor back, and he doesn't even go with the movie. Like, he's literally in the first 5 minutes and then he's gone, like never mentioned again. But Ruby stays for the whole movie. Anyway, so they drive their bus all the way out, in the middle of nowhere, right? So they're driving out there, and then they realize when they're halfway there, oh, we forgot about daylight savings time, so we're actually going to be an hour late. So instead, oh no, instead of an hour late, we got to look at the map. We got to figure out a shortcut. So they're like, oh, look at this road here. If we take this road, it'll save us 2 hours. We'll make it right on time. Let's do that. And of course, the road goes right through what we call sector 16 is what they call it, which is the same area of desert that they were in the first movie. Now Ruby looks at this and says, hey, we shouldn't go there. And then they go, oh, but it's faster. And then she immediately goes, okay. Like, doesn't fight it, doesn't try to say anything at all. Just like, yeah, sure, let's go through cannibal country. Well, she's like, oh, they should all be dead anyway. We'll be fine. But I cannot stress enough how annoying these kids are. I mean, this bus ride is intolerable. I'm drinking. I was about ready to break out a bottle and start doing shots because I was like, I need to get through this parts. This is terrible. They're like making these goofy jokes with each other, and these jokes are like not landing and like literally missing by like miles. I mean, they are so bad that you just like, I mean, I think I was like carving grooves into my skull with how like hard my eyes were rolling back. Like, my God, just shut up. Can we just get to where we're going? Like, this scene in this bus lasts so long. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot. Before they go on this trip, they stop at this like, I don't know, dog breeding station. Yep. And they get Beast, and Beast, I guess, is now getting like $400 stud fees to breed because he's such a great dog, which is, I mean, they're not wrong. But
how old is Beast at this point in time?
Well,
it's 8 years later.
He was pretty young in the first one. So like, I mean, we're probably talking 10, 12. I mean, he doesn't look 10 or 12 because like 10 for a German Shepherd, 10 is like senior citizen.
Oh, yeah. 10 is like your dog's not going to be around.
Right. But he is definitely not a senior citizen dog. He is definitely a young, spry looking German Shepherd. So,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the timelines don't match up, but they do call him Beast, and he is, you know, canonically the original Beast. Obviously, it's not the same dog, but right. Canonically in their world, this is the same dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So they take this shortcut. And of course they like run over a rock, and the rock like breaks their gas line. And so like they basically are running out of gas. So they stop at this like little mining town thing that they find. And they get out and they patch the gas line with gum, but now they're basically out of gas. So they're like, okay, well, let's look through this little mining town thing and see if we can find some gas. So they're like looking through the mining town, and, you know, they're like, I don't even know what they're doing, because there's like things that they find later on in this mining town that like somehow like 8 people couldn't find when they're searching for gas. Like, whatever. So they're searching around looking for gas. They don't find anything, but Beast is running around, and he's like barking at this like ladder. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ruby, or Rachel, climbs up this ladder, and gets attacked by Pluto, who Michael Berryman from the first one, who died in the first one, or so we thought. I guess survived. They don't even have like a scar or anything from the dog, nothing. He just survived. So him and Ruby like wrestle around a little bit, and then he kind of runs away. He's got like a new look where he's got like got weird hubcap armor on and like weird fur stuff on. Anyway, he went to a stylist or something. He looks much better than he did in the original one. So they kind of tussle around for a little bit, and then he kind of runs away. So then Rachel comes down, and basically then this is when she tells everybody like, yeah, I'm Ruby from the story that everybody knows about the cannibals in the desert. So I was one of them. Right. And so I thought they were all dead, but now my brother is alive.
Yeah.
You know, and he's out there. So we got to like be careful. So, you know, they're all like, as they're like trying to figure out what's going on, Pluto steals one of their bikes, because they have like their motocross bikes in the back of their bus. So Pluto steals one of their bikes and is like riding around. And so these other two guys, I guess they're two best racer guys, Roy and other dude, I don't remember his name. Doesn't matter. So they go out and they're like, oh, we'll chase him. And they take like 5 minutes to put on all of their motocross gear. Like literally like
motocross montage.
Right. Like their full outfits and all their motocross armor and their helmets and everything. And they finally get on the bikes and they finally go. And of course they're still able to catch up to him like right away. So they're like, there's like a long scene of them like chasing them through the, kind of hills, I guess, the rocky hills out there. The one dude who I don't remember his name, he gets killed essentially. And then Roy is also chasing after him. Like now he's like, oh, I'm serious. Like you hurt my friend. I'm going to come get you. So he, eventually gets knocked out by this other guy. We don't know who this other guy is, but there's another bigger guy out there with Pluto who comes down and basically like bops him on the head. And we see like blood coming out of his helmet, and then that's it. And then we cut back to back
shenanigans happening at the mine.
Right, yeah. So now we're back at the mine. So now who is it? The guy, I think his name is Hulk and Rachel.
Yeah.
They're like trying to figure out, they like light a tire on fire to like give them, a signal to come back to because nobody's coming back. So they decide that they're going to go out and find them. And again, like some of these are cut with other stuff. I'm just going to kind of follow one thread because like I don't want to keep cutting back and forth because I know I'll forget stuff. So I'm just going to follow one thread and then reset and then go back. Okay. So Hulk and Rachel, they go out looking for them. Hulk ends up getting killed by this like giant crossbow thing. And then Rachel kind of fights and tussles with them and then ends up kind of lost in the desert. Right. But I guess she's not lost because she knows the desert, right? Because she lived there. But anyway, she's kind of out of it for a while. And then we go back, Cass and the other, whatever nameless girl that doesn't matter. They find a shower and this other girl is like, oh, I need to take a shower.
Yes.
So she leaves the blind girl by herself in this like shack that she doesn't know. And she just takes a shower.
To be fair, the other two people are boning in the van.
I know. I was going to get to that, but like, you're literally, there's no like stall around the shower. There's literally a shower in the middle of the area. There's nothing blocking it at all. Anyway. So so the mechanic dude and his girlfriend are like boning in the bus. And then like, I don't know, they get in like a weird tiff or they're done or I don't know what the hell was going on. But anyway, he goes wandering around and he finds the girl in the shower. And then just like stares at her, right? And he won't stop. And she's like, please stop. Like, please go away. I mean, she's being like giggly about it, but you can tell she's like, please get the hell away from me. And he wouldn't leave. And she's like, oh, well, what would you say if your girlfriend was here? And he said something like, oh, I'll tell her she can wait her turn or something, whatever, some stupid thing like that. And of course she was standing right behind him. So she gets all upset and of course runs away into the hills because now it's nighttime. It just like it literally at that point it cut to nighttime while she was taking a shower, went from day to night. So she runs into the hills in the dark. So mechanic guy is like, oh, I can't see her. I'm going to get in the bus and use the last little bit of gas we have to chase her through.
I'm gonna get her.
I'm gonna go find her with this bus. Like one, what the hell is this chick doing? And two, what the hell is he doing?
Gonna run her over.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so they're driving out there, and of course he runs out of gas, and he gets out and he starts chasing her down, and he doesn't find her, but he does find Rachel. And then Rachel goes, oh, yeah, bad things are happening. I will go find her. You go back and tell everybody we got to get ready. She tells everybody to go meet at the bus. We need to leave, right? Yeah. But he just ran the bus out of gas all the way over there. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
So he goes back to the mining thing. And now at this point is when everybody just starts dying. Because this other guy who is the Reaper, who is, I guess they said Papa Jupe's older brother.
Correct.
Now that makes no canonical sense because we, in the first movie, got an explanation that Jupiter was the first child born of the gas station guy. He made no mention of a larger, more dangerous older brother, right? I mean, maybe they meant like spiritual brothers. I don't know, whatever. But they said Papa Jupe's older brother, which is, again, just stupid. But anyway, so the Reaper comes through and just starts killing people. So he kills the shower girl. He kills the mechanic dude. The mechanic dude's girlfriend ended up wandering back in. He kills her too. And so now who are we down to? We're down to Rachel and Cass, the blind girl. And, and Roy. Roy wakes up in the hills, still alive somehow. Like he has blood on his head, but he's still alive. He wakes up because Beast is out wandering the wilderness and he finds him and licks him and wakes him up.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I need to get back. So he goes back. And then he, of course, Cass is like crying out for Roy, even though she knows he wasn't there. But of course, as soon as she starts doing that, he shows up. So then they get this plan to like, I guess there was like this goofy scene of like them discovering like their butcher den, like with the switch on the wall and the fake fridge and all that or whatever. But like none of all the stuff that they found, like that was the secret den underneath. But like the butcher table and like the animals on the wall and all that kind of stuff, like nobody mentioned that when they were supposed to be looking for gas. Right? Correct. Like there's only like 3 buildings. There's not that much stuff to search. And there was 8 people. And they managed to find a bunch of old miner clothes, but none of them found the butcher table that was obviously with fresh stuff happening that could have warned them that something was going on. Anyway, so yeah, they basically they fight Reaper in the mine shaft, and like I don't know, he ends up falling down a mine shaft after they like stab him a couple times and they fight whatever. There's like this goofy scene where they lead him to the bus that they've taken the super formula fuel out, and they've like
it's super formula because it says right on the container,
right? And it like literally it looked like somebody hand painted it because it looks terrible. Like it looks like not even like a professional painter. Like you're talking like somebody's like kid, like oh yeah, you're in high school, you like art, right? Here, paint this. Like this is what it looks like. It's very bad. Anyway, so they make like a ring of fire with this super fuel and then like dump the rest of it in the bus. And they like, trick, again, the Reaper to go into the bus, and then it blows up, and then whatever. There's like, what is it? Oh, yeah, she like drops a rock down a mine shaft, and like the rope pulls Roy out through the fire. It's very stupid. And of course, Beast attacks and kills Pluto again. I mean, we all knew that was happening. We all saw that coming. So that happens. Rachel. They don't really mention her again.
She's dead.
Was she dead?
She fell from that hit to the head, I guess. That's what I'm going with, because she's not at the end of the scene.
No, that's what I'm saying, but they just like forgot about her. Like, yeah, she was like hurt, but she wasn't like, they didn't show like a death scene.
Nope.
And I would say like how important her character was, being the only returning character. You think they would concentrate more on it, but they really don't.
No.
It's just like they concentrate on this Roy and Cass thing, and then like at the end, Roy and Cass live, and then that's it.
And Beast, the hero.
Well, and Beast, of course, yeah, because Beast is unkillable.
Right.
But that's essentially it. Again, there's a lot of stuff I smoothed over because I don't want to talk about how annoying these people were. I don't know if I can stress enough how annoying these people are, but they are horrible. Yeah, it's like they managed to. Okay, here's my first thought on this movie. This is the first time I've seen it. Right? It's amazing how they made everyone in this movie unlikable. There's like what 8? Well, I think there's 10 people total, including Bobby. Right? And they're like none of them are likable. You don't feel any kind of like sympathy for anyone. Right. The only one that you kind of borderline feel bad for is Cass, and that's just simply because she's blind, but they give her all these dumbass, like supernatural powers anyway. You hate her because it's so stupid and ridiculous. So it's like, no one, you don't like anybody. Anytime anybody dies, you're like, oh, please, thank you. I don't have to listen to this person talk anymore.
Correct.
Yeah. It would just blew my mind how they could make you hate everyone in this movie.
Now, I feel like I have watched this before, but I clearly blanked it from my mind.
There's definitely,
how bad it was.
There's definitely parts of this that I've seen, but I know I haven't seen it end to end before. I might have seen like bits and pieces here and there. I know there's parts that I have definitely seen, but I don't know where.
And let's just go first thought rewatch for me is this came out a year after Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was like, how the hell did he go from Nightmare on Elm Street to this? Like, what happened?
Yeah. And I'm just going, something's wrong here. Something's off. I could not put my finger on it. Like the production value was way, way less on a sequel to a fantastic movie. And you think hey, what's my next movie after Nightmare on Elm Street? Oh, the sequel to my movie that was really great.
Yeah, the sequel to my cult classic movie. I'm coming off of a movie that made a ton of money and made my name like a household name.
Yeah.
Like give me a big budget to make this movie. Nope. Like here's $10 and a sandwich. Do what you can with it.
Right. I'm just the series ended here. I'd say because of this.
Well,
movie.
yeah, obviously because of this. You watch this movie and you hate all these people. Like
Yes.
you don't ever want to know what happens to these people ever again.
Correct. I mean, I want to know more about Beast. That's about
Well, yeah, but yeah, they're gonna like 10 years later they're gonna have Beast again. It's like, okay, guys, is there cryostasis involved?
I mean, maybe it's one of his stud missions.
I mean, they
Son of
could.
Beast.
They could do that. That's fine. That's okay.
But let's get into your highlights first.
All right. Highlights. I only have one. And it is basically I do like the new Hill Folk outfits.
Yes.
They're like they got like this like post-apocalyptic edge to them, to where they have like weird like kind of like medieval armor pieces like made out of like hubcaps and like like just weird pieces of scrap metal and stuff, and they got like fur and like all these in all the right places, I guess. It looks interesting. They look more fun than the first one. The first one was a lot more realistic. These ones are like more fun. Like I said, it puts like that post-apocalyptic spice on the one.
Oh, it's Road Warrior.
Right. Yeah. They're definitely cool. I do like the outfit. Well, there really is only two. There's Pluto and the Reaper in this one, but they both have like pretty cool outfits. End of highs. That's it.
I mean, Pluto is probably the only person to have been killed by the same thing in
twice.
Twice.
Right.
Yeah. So Beast again is and yeah, the outfits. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the highlights.
Okay.
Low points.
Lows. Here we go. All right. This has some egregious flashbacks, man. I mean, they are horrible. They're like flashbacks. They're like, what was that other movie we watched that had like the flashbacks? Oh, that was like, they were like 10 minutes long.
Oh,
I can't remember. It was a movie. It was not that long ago where they literally like showed sections of them. Oh, it was Basket Case.
Yes.
So they were showing like 5 whole minutes of flashback. Like, I know I just watched this movie. I don't need to watch it again. This one does the same thing. So we're like, yes. Bobby has a flashback. Ruby has a flashback. And I shit you not, Beast has his own flashback. They show him like, like Bobby when he's having his breakdown, they do like the doodle-doo, 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 and he has a flashback, right? Ruby, when she like is on the bus, like, oh, am I going to go down this road? Like doodle-doo, doodle-doo, flashback. And there's long flashbacks, so like 5 minutes, like lazy filmmaking. Just add another 5 minutes of film from the first one, right? And I swear to God, Beast is on the bus by himself, just barking at nothing.
Yes.
Dude. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? I was laughing so hard I couldn't continue. I had to pause the movie. I was literally laughing so hard I couldn't watch it. I'm like, the dog has a flashback? But yeah, literally, he flashes back and they show him killing Pluto again. Like, so capitalize on the fact that, yes, this character is supposed to be dead. And the dog even remembers this 7 years later.
Yes.
But yeah, flashbacks, egregious. Very stupid in this movie.
I mean, they're showing that Beast is the main character.
Right, yeah. Like, okay, he has a flashback. That means he's now the protagonist.
Yes.
Yeah, I've already went over how annoying and terrible everybody was. The lady taking a shower in the middle of a mining settlement, like, how dumb do you have to be? Like, again, she doesn't know if that water is irradiated. She doesn't know if that water is poisonous. Like, they don't know, this is like some random mining town. It looks like it's been abandoned since like the 30s. And she says, oh yeah, I was going to take a shower. I got to wash off this road dust. Like, you probably took a shower that morning. It's not even 24 hours. Like, you're not that bad where you need to take a shower at night. It's like, okay, everybody's just immediately okay with Ruby after they find out about her. Like, oh, you were part of a cannibal family? Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about our stupid jokes that keep missing and just gloss over the fact that our like business owner was a cannibal at one point in time. Like, whoa, we need to back that truck up. We need to go over this situation. Like, whoa, are you telling me that you were a cannibal at one point in time? Oh, yep. I wasn't as mean as the other cannibals. It doesn't matter. You lived for like 20 years with cannibals. You definitely ate people. Yes. There's no way you did not eat people. Exactly. We need to, this is a situation that needs to be discussed. No one should ever be alone with you ever again. Like this is a situation that needs to be discussed and everybody's just like, so anyway.
Right.
Yeah. There's nobody. And then again, the whole, the Reaper being Papa Jupe's big brother doesn't make any sense. He wasn't anybody mentioned. I mean, they could have literally just said, yeah, he had other kids that they never mentioned.
Yep.
Or he had other kids that didn't get along with Papa Jupe, so they were like exiled, and now that Papa Jupe's dead, they came back. There's so many other ways to say that, but they had to explicitly say one that doesn't make any canonical sense.
Yes.
End of those. You can go ahead.
Okay. I mean, you know, hey, I'm chasing my girlfriend for funsies with a bus through the desert. The Matt Murdock powers of Cass, you know, she goes, I heard, you know, Roy scream. You heard it? Well, I felt his scream. Oh, you know, stuff doesn't happen 10 minutes before it happens. And yet, she didn't know someone was on the bus and took a motorcycle away. She can sense things from miles away, but something dozens of feet away, she doesn't know someone's on a bus taking out a large clanky machine and riding it.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to say, like, they had the joke, like, where they go to her and they're like, hey, have you seen so-and-so? And she goes, I haven't seen anything. That joke is said like 10 times. It's like 10 times. Like, holy shit, it didn't hit the first time. Please stop with the same stupid ass blind joke. Dear God.
And, you know, they went to how do you know she's blind? Well, everyone's looking to the left. She's going to be looking to the right.
Yeah.
Now, once again, she has this power. She should know where the sound is coming from to look in the general direction of where everyone else is looking.
Oh, my God. Like I said, she's the only character that's like, you know, she's not a bad, annoying person. She's relatively okay. But that's why you hate her, because they give her these stupid powers. And you're like, this doesn't make any sense. So again, that's why you hate her. Everybody else is just plain annoying. And it's like very clear why you hate them. She's the only one that you might kind of like go, maybe I'll feel bad if she died. But like these stupid powers, just like, okay, I don't care. Just get rid of this.
And lastly is the guy that got the wire knocked off him while he's doing the parkour on his motorbike after the bro montage. He sees a trap, like he sets it off. He goes, ha ha, didn't get me, near, and then a rock falls on him. Like, exact line. I'm like, what the hell? Like, a quip like that is stupid.
Right. And then, okay, the thing is, like, they literally spent, I don't know, like, it was the first 5 minutes of the movie talking about this stupid super fuel, right?
Yes.
And it was used a grand total of one time for, like, nil effect. I mean, like, he hit it and the bike sparked and he got in front of Pluto, and then Pluto just stayed behind him. Yep. Like, and that was it. And then they switched positions because that was it. That was the grand total of them using the super fuel. And then they literally used the super fuel to like blow up the Reaper at the end. And I maybe they had to call it super fuel because they couldn't put it in the bus because it'll blow up the bus. Maybe that's why they had to call it super fuel. I don't know.
They said that. They said, why don't we just use the super fuel, the secret formula or super formula? It would blow up the bus. And you're going to, if it's going to blow up a regular vehicle, you don't think it's going to blow up in a thing that's hitting the ground hard?
Like, a dirt bike runs on gasoline. Yes. Okay. So if it's fancy gas, I mean, well, I guess he did say that he had to build the bike a certain way to be able to handle it. But like, they specifically said when they found the generator that had diesel, they said, "Oh, look, this is diesel. Too bad the bus doesn't use diesel." So we know it's not a diesel bus. That would have been an easy out. We know it's not a diesel bus. So yeah, there's no way that it would probably be just a high octane like racing fuel. Yeah, it's not great for the bus, right? Like, over a long period of time, yeah, bad stuff's going to happen. But if you need to get away from cannibals in the desert, I'm pretty sure it'll get you far enough away.
Yes. Yep. I mean, that's pretty much, and I said the flashback, and
yeah. Dude, like I said, that dog flashback, I was laughing so fucking hard.
So, all right. So, how many good boys out of 10 do you give this movie?
This one, okay, like, I'm not going to give it a super, super low score because, again, I do like the whole Hillfolk aspect of it. There are some things that are interesting and fun, but overall, it's not good. I'm going to give it 3.5 good boys out of 10.
0.5? I had a rough time watching this, and I love bad movies. I love cheese in movies, and this was not the right type of cheese. I am going down to 3. Your 0.5 is probably there more because you liked the Mad Max series more than I do. So
right, yeah, that's probably it's fair.
So yeah, 3 good boys out of 10. Yeah, this is definitely not going to be a rewatch for me. Probably ever again.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into the recap of the 2006 Hills Have Eyes remake. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna take not to say the easy way out, but for time constraint, the differences in the movies versus the similarities. Right, the storyline's pretty much the same.
Well, except for Big Bob, his first line is when he goes up to the gas station attendant. He tucks his penis between his legs and he says, "Would you fuck me? Because I'd fuck me."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Buffalo Bill. The dad is played by Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. Big Bob is American. Everything is still this kind of the same. Except he really hates Doug this time around.
Well, the reason why he really hates Doug is not explicitly said, but if you paid attention, you'd know why.
Because he's a Democrat, doesn't like guns.
That's one reason. Did you catch the real reason?
No.
Doug was wearing a Star of David necklace.
Oh.
Pretty sure that's why Big Bob doesn't like him.
That makes that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not explicitly said, but yeah, he's wearing a Star of David necklace.
He also because Doug in this one is a cell phone sales guy or makes cell phones, repair cell phones, whatever it is. So he doesn't have a blue collar job, right?
Right.
So that's another reason too.
Well, and the dad, he's not a retired cop. He's like a security guard. He's like not even a real cop.
Yeah, but he gives Doug a hell of a lot more shit.
Yes, he definitely does.
Like Doug's going, why can't we just fly out? Because your dad's gotta be the man. He has to do all the stuff his way. And he's Doug's not wrong. And I'd say the other initial scenes, big differences. First off, is that he is the younger siblings are clearly younger, like noticeably younger.
Yeah, well, yeah, like Bobby in the original was probably like he felt like 20, right?
He looks like 16.
Yeah, and this one, yeah, he's like 15, 16.
Doug, glances at his wife's little sister inappropriately. But a huge difference from the gas station scene is the gas station attendant is he explicitly tells him to go off the road for the shortcut.
Okay, to be fair, Big Bob was being a complete asshole.
Yes,
he was being a complete asshole. They let their dogs like run all around his property. Like he caught them in his own back room with the dogs like twice, I think.
Yeah.
And they were just generally being shitball people. So, I mean, I understand why. I'm not condoning him sending these people into the jaws of cannibals, but I kind of understand it. Like, at first, he was just, stay on the path, and then when they were being complete assholes, he's like, oh, if you want a shortcut.
Right.
But he was also kind of more complicit. Like, in the first one, we saw that they would, like, trade goods with him for whatever, and he said he's not going to do that anymore. But in this one, they show, like, they're literally bringing him, like, containers with, like, severed ears in them. So,
Yes.
like, he's obviously well aware of what they're doing back there, and he's complicit.
Yes.
And has been. He's trying to say that he's quitting or whatever, but he's been complicit for a while.
Right. So that plot continues. They take the short route. It's still their 25th silver anniversary.
Yeah, the silver mine is not mentioned.
Correct. Which, once again, I'm not entirely sure that they're the right age for 25 years. Because Big Bob doesn't seem like the type of person that would have a baby out of wedlock.
No, Big Bob is probably more likely to have a baby out of wedlock, honestly.
Yeah. And this time, instead of being scared and stuff like that, there's a big thing about nuclear bombs, and all this testing facility in this area, because, they talked about that in what they said 40s and 50s. So they, upped it 20, 30-ish years to be more relevant in 2006. And this time the hill folk have the road spikes that they throw out there and break all 4 tires and the axle and crash the truck, and it's like totaled.
Right, yeah, so this one, it wasn't Big Bob's fault. In the first one, it was definitely Big Bob's fault. He, like, freaked out, didn't know how to drive the car, and then he did all that by himself, and then blamed it on his wife. And this one, yeah, he was like, spike strips popped his tires, and he did not blame it on his wife.
Right. I do like the jab, Doug. Hey, Big Bob, are you gonna be able to fix it? Yeah. So they go their separate ways. As they did before, Big Bob's going back to the gas station. Doug goes the other way. He has to bring his hat, because it's the desert and it's hot. I want to say that the wife pointed out that I didn't catch is, I don't know if you ever seen the movie Hocus Pocus.
No.
Well, the main girl that wasn't the little girl was the wife. Was okay. Doug's wife. So my wife immediately recognized her.
Brenda is the girlfriend from the movie Brick, which was Ryan Johnson's first movies.
Okay.
The guy Doug is the main character.
Pyro.
What?
He's Pyro.
Oh yeah, he's Pyro. He's also the main character from the 12 Monkeys show. Watch it on Sci-Fi. He was the main character.
Okay. I just knew him as Pyro at that point in time when I did see this in theaters. Yeah, so they're kind of going that way. We still have Beauty and Beast again, and the same thing kind of happens with Bobby. That all happens the same, except this time, Ruby, really we get to see Ruby kind of the first time, and she's nothing like her character in the original, and these are more wrong turn looking hill folk.
Yeah, these are like obviously mutant hill folk. Yes. Like eyes are in all the wrong places.
Yes. So yeah, and we see there's a lot more of them too.
Yeah, well, that doesn't. We don't really find that out until after Doug goes on his quest. But yes, overall there is definitely more of
them. Right. So Doug this time finds a whole bunch of craters with a whole bunch of cars and stuff in there. Like, you can tell this is a nuclear testing bomb facility, or was one. And, he gathers junk as well. All the stuff, he can't find a cell phone. He's like, oh, and 97% coverage, and we happen to be in the 3%.
I mean, again, that's fair. You're in the middle of the desert. Like
in 2006, I don't think there's 97% coverage in 2006. We were there. We did not have that in this country.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until 2007, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure. Well, I'm sure somebody advertised being 97%, but I'm sure they were not. But I'm sure they advertised that they were.
Yes. So we're introduced to that. Big Bob gets back to the station. We get the newspaper montage as we get in these type of movies now all the time about the nuclear testing, how it caused deformities, all that stuff.
Well, also about that the government tried to kick out the miners that lived here, and the miners refused to leave. Right. So they had like an altercation with the military, and they ended up. I think they say they ended up like. I think they. Well, I don't know if they ever said what happened to it, but anyway, we're given the background of who these people were.
Correct, and it's not all just one family member, seemingly this time around. It could be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so, but yeah, it's not explicitly said that they're one family.
Correct. So then it's nighttime, and Big Bob finds the gas station attendant. He's in the bathroom, and he's like, "I'm sorry for what I did." And then instead of him being killed by his son, he blows his face off. The front half of his head blown off in outhouse.
Yep.
So that's a big difference too. But this time he sees that. Big Bob tries to run away, and then Papa Jupiter is there and attacked and taken. So that's all pretty much the same. The trailer invasion is almost a shot for shot remake with even everything, but the rape scene a bit more explicit this time.
Yeah. They go a little bit further at that point, but yeah, we're talking like everything is exactly the same. Like he even rips the head off the bird and drinks the blood like the same way. Like where Pluto is like trying to assault Brenda, and then Mars is like, "Well, you ain't a man yet." I mean, literally, it's like the same exact scene.
Yes. I mean, that's a big part of it. The first invasion to do a remake of it, but to be pretty much on point, I think it was good for the movie.
Well, yeah, that's probably like the first like key scene of the first movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the same thing kind of happens. The tenderloin is taken again. The mom dies the same way. The wife dies the same way.
They distract them with Big Bob getting lit on fire the same way. Yeah, everything.
Except he's cooked a lot more toastily.
They show it more. Like before, they were concentrating on showing what was happening in the trailer while everybody else was at Bob. But this time, they show both.
Correct. And then this, so same thing happens, except they're not boning in the back of the truck this time. Instead of 11 waiting for Big Bob to come back.
I mean,
11.
I think they were, because those windows were pretty sweaty.
Yeah.
They were definitely fogged up.
They gave Big Bob a whole extra hour. It was midnight this time instead of 11 p.m.
Well, that's because in 77, 11 was super late.
Right.
It's not that late anymore. Midnight sounds.
And Bobby was still constantly checking his watch, so that's all the same across the board. And then Doug, goes out and does the same thing, except this time Doug actually does things.
Yeah, and Doug brings Beast with him on a leash this time, which I don't know why he just held him on a leash. Like you're limiting Beast's abilities when you got him on a short leash like that.
I think people go, you know what? Instead of having the dog be the hero, why don't we have Doug, the human, be the hero? I
mean, what other horror movies have dog protagonists?
That's true.
You don't need to take it away from him. It's not like not like you're in competition or like it's been done too many times before.
Yeah. But we see a lot more mutations. We see a guy with his head draped over a wheelchair and just bulbous growths on him watching TV. I think we see Big Mama, and she has, I guess she's there.
Yeah, I mean, she's bald, but she doesn't have anything glaringly wrong with
Right.
But it seems like in this one, in the first one, the baby was food.
Yes.
Like they were calling it like tenderloin, like they were like clearly going to eat it, and like everyone that touched the baby was very clearly looking forward to eating it, except for Ruby.
Yeah.
And this one, it just looks like they gave the baby to Big Mama, and like Big Mama is just gonna like raise it like a baby. Like it
Yes.
seemed like she wasn't going to eat it. She was just going to take it as her own, is what it seemed like. So like that vibe was a bit different.
But yeah, Doug kills Pluto this time. He is, being thrown through walls. Pluto is a beast of a man.
Yeah.
But the Beast is able to kill still some of the hill folks. So that's good.
Yeah.
He
Ruby kills the Mercury. I don't think his name is Mercury, but the Mercury type dude. He still kills him.
Pluto and Papa Jupiter are the only planetary names. Everyone else are different creatures.
Yeah, they're not even named. You don't know their names until you look at the credits, and they're stupid.
I'm looking at the credits. There is a Venus in this,
and that one maybe, yeah. But I mean, there's also like the stupid names like Cyst, and like stupid stuff like that. Again, yeah, I'll discuss later.
Yeah. But this time, Ruby tackles someone off a cliff, and she dies in this.
Yeah.
But we still have the same stuff of the parkouring through the cave system and stuff like that. We still have the same showdown with the same explosive trap, different but explosion anyway to kill Jupiter.
Well, the explosion actually works this time though.
Correct.
Instead of Jupiter seeing it coming, he gets hit, but it still ends up the same way because he survives, and they still have to fight him anyway.
Yeah, and they essentially pickaxe him through the face.
Yeah.
And it ends with same amount. Same people are still alive. Same people still die in the family. Pretty much the same way. This time, but they are being watched by survivors of the cannibal family.
Right. Yeah. Because this one there's because in the very first one it's like Papa Jupe, Mars, Pluto, Mercury, Ruby, and Mama.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the whole family. And this one, it's like, there's a whole bunch of people, and they're not necessarily family. And it seemed like they were living in a town, so it seemed like there could have been much more of them.
Right. But yeah, as I said, it's very wrong turn hill folk looking, but in the desert this time.
Right.
So. And the movie.
Yep. All done.
Like I said, there's the big beats they kept the same, which I liked. You know what I mean? So it really felt like a successful remake and an updated remake. Not like the 1990 Night of the Living Dead that was just a color version, or Vince Vaughn's Psycho, which didn't need to get made. But yeah, they made it more mutants versus just
I'd say they
folk.
They basically just modernized it. They put modern effects onto the existing story, and then tried to I guess give Doug more of a hero role.
Yeah,
because in the first one he just shows up screaming for his baby, and then Ruby steals the baby and runs up to him, and then that's pretty much it. And then he tries to fight Mars and gets the crap beat out of him, and then Ruby has to save him with the snake, and that's basically Doug's whole involvement.
Yeah, I mean, this time he got fingers chopped off, woke up in a freezer full of body parts. He went through hell to get his kid back.
Right, but he was actually fighting and killing stuff. Again, he has much more of a hero role in this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's done well.
It's not
you
bad.
were rooting for him. And I know I saw this in theaters, and at this point in time, you think the then girlfriend, now wife, will realize what these movies are going to be like. She's like, okay, this is some more body horror that we are now used to, but this is the what happens when the French extremities happen in America trying to get back into it. So I think this movie was a product of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is definitely the point where they realized they went wrong, and
Yeah.
they're trying to come back. And it's funny that you mentioned that is because the director of this movie is actually the same director of High Tension. So they actually you could tell that in this time period, of Hollywood, they're like, oh, look at what the French are doing. They're doing some cool stuff over there. Let's
Right.
bring them over here to re-inject life into our horror genre, which is what they were doing around this time. Like they were trying to like bring it back because it had gone to such like a generic low level that they were trying to bring some of that juice back, and that's why I'm pretty sure that's why they brought him back to do this.
Yes.
Because he did it right after High Tension. High Tension was like what 2006 or 5?
Was it 5? I thought it was 3.
Oh, but maybe whatever.
Yeah.
It was after High Tension,
Yeah.
but pretty soon after.
Yeah. I mean, so what was your first thoughts? Having watched the original as a kid, and you saw this. What, did you see this in theaters, or did you see it after?
No,
it came
I didn't
to
see it in
home
theaters.
release?
Yeah,
I was shortly after.
Yeah, I was broke at this time, so I didn't have any money to go to theater. No, yeah, I watched it when it came out on video. I think I was still renting movies at that time. But yeah, no, it was good. I don't think it's quite as good as the original, but it's definitely cool. I mean, I like the interesting things that they added to it. Again, I think they took some stuff away with some of the choices that they made, but I mean, they made some fun choices. Again, it's modernized it, so they put enough of a twist on it, so you didn't feel like you were just watching the same movie again.
It wasn't just a shot for shot rehash.
Right. Yeah, it was like, it was different enough. It was fun. It was, I was definitely not upset that I rented it, but it's not something that I need to rewatch all the time.
Now, how do you think they did did you like the Hill Folk better in this, worse, or the same?
I liked them. I mean, I think, because I like them. I like the look of them better. How about that? I think they did a better job, except for Mars. Everybody else was like deformed and weird looking in some way, and Mars just had a cleft lip, and that was it. That was the only thing wrong with him. Otherwise, he was totally fine. Yes. If he would have just fixed his cleft lip, he would have been normal. They were like Pluto literally has like this big like basketball sausage head, and he's I don't know, like he's got like one eye is like just oozing pus out, and he's got like this big like red like swollen thing coming out of his head. I mean, he's like messed up and like super mutant, and like a lot of them other ones look like super crazy mutant people.
Yes.
They're like the guy that was in a Halo. the guy with the crazy brain like dripping out of his chair. Yeah, like there's a lot of weird looking people, and then Mars just had a cleft lip, which was
I'm hideous, Papa.
Yeah. So like most of them didn't talk; they just kind of grunted. To where like in the original they could talk. I mean, they talked like more, kind of like simple, like caveman talk kind of. But at least they were talking. In this one, they barely talked. Like the only one that really talked was the brain guy in the wheelchair. Then Mars, but they made him more like animalistic, like more like grunting than talking kind of thing. Like Pluto didn't talk at all.
Right.
So again, I like the steps they took with the look of them, but like they kind of degraded them as far as like, making them interesting. They made them look better, but less interesting.
Right. And that's rolling into the highlights. Yeah. They definitely looked a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
This is, like I'm the compare this to, you weren't an X-Files watcher. But Home was kind of like more of that mutated hill folk thing. I know that's the inspiration they took from The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah. See, that episode I did actually watch. Because I remember them advertising like, this is the episode that was too bad to show on TV. We're going to show it once. Again. Yeah, they showed it once. But I remember they advertised the hell out of it at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say it was like they played it like after the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah.
Like it was like a very high profile thing that they were doing. And I watched it then. So I did watch it when it was on TV. So I do know the episode.
And to me, that was kind of a start. My first thing of like mutated hill folk, or like not mute, but maybe like the wrong turn hill folk, I would call them. That's I'm gonna keep saying that just because that's what it seems like.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, my fear of hill folk began with Deliverance, and like those people, they
Right.
didn't really look mutated or anything. They were just hill folk. You know, they're
Yeah.
just different kind of people.
Right.
Um,
Um. Yeah, and then like I said, I felt like Doug was a better character because they made him like you didn't dislike him. I liked Doug. I didn't think, you know what, this guy's a jerk, but like he went through hell and he deserved to get his daughter back.
yeah, no, I like this Doug better than the original Doug. The original
Yes.
Doug is just kind of like a goofy, like guy that feels like he's just kind of incidentally helped. you know, like I mean, he
Yeah.
barely did anything. Like he went running after his kid with nothing but a radio. And
Yeah.
then in the new one, yeah, like he had like an axe, and he had a bat, but at least he had
Yes.
something. He had
Right.
something and he had a plan. He was smart enough to bring Beast with him and stuff. But like, yeah, so yeah, I had this, but overall, I'd say he was a more likable character. I'd say probably like just about everybody was more likable, except for
No,
maybe
not, not
Bob.
not 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 Big Bob.
Well, Big Bob, no, but you were supposed to not like Big Bob. I'm pretty sure that's why they hired like Buffalo Bill to play him, so that you felt uncomfortable around the character. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah,
They were like,
I
let's
can
have a
see
guy
that.
that gives you a weird edge when he's in any movie. It's like to
Yeah.
this day, whenever I see him in anything, I'm like,
And yet, here it is, 17 years later. We go. We still see Big Bobs everywhere.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. What about you? Any other highlights for you from this one?
Yeah, the look of the hill folk, and I really liked the idea of like how they had like the fake towns that they did the
Mm-hmm.
nuclear tests in. So they have like these houses that they built, and they put like mannequins and stuff to like show
Yes.
like what the bomb effect would be on like a regular town, and to actually have the people like live in that town and still have a lot of the mannequins and stuff. I thought that was a really cool idea. Just like the concept of it, I thought was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Completely agree. Why don't you roll into your low points?
Oh, okay. The first one I'm gonna say, when Doug was doing his hero stuff, like this is whatever he like hit somebody with the axe, or he like did something smart or whatever. They have this like music that popped up behind him, and it is the most generic garbage like hero theme I've ever heard. It is like they must have picked it up out of like some stock footage or something, because it is bad. Like you can tell nobody like wrote this specifically for the movie. This is like generic hero, action one. It's like do. I mean, it's very stupid. It's very bad. If you watch it again, look for that, and you will notice like, wow, that's bad. This is
Wow.
stupid bad. Two would be Bobby's pants. Dear God, dude, you are fighting for your life in the desert against hill folk. You have a fucking belt on. Pull your fucking pants up, dude. Dear God, like
Yeah.
fashion is not that important. Like I'm
Yeah.
almost positive that's why he fell off that stupid mountain. Because he was, flopping around in his big 90s pants.
Hey, I like my big 90s pants, all right?
Oh,
Thank you
sorry, not 90s pants. 2000 pants.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't quite Jenkos, but they were, poor kid Jenkos he was wearing.
Yeah.
And he had a hat hanging from him that he never wore. Like, what's the point of having a hat hanging from your pants if you're never going to wear it?
Correct.
The other bad thing is again, like, again, the positive, the hill folk is the look of them. I do like the new look of them. And the bad thing is, like, yeah, they took away their names. They took away the family. They took away a lot of the things that made them interesting and just made them like mindless kind of beasts, which I think takes a lot of the scariness out of them. As they now you're down to just like they're animals, right? They're not really like, scary, wily, animal intelligence people. Now they're just like, a wolf that you have to be scared of. I think the original one was scarier that way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Obviously, we're not supposed to like Big Bob, as we discussed. I mean, yeah, they still killed Beauty, which is always bad when you kill a dog.
Yeah.
And Beast should have done more.
I mean, yeah, to be fair. But yeah, but I don't understand his logic. Like, he brings the dog with him, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, okay, Beast, we met danger. I'm going to lock you in this car.
Yes.
While I go do things. Like, why don't you just let the dog go? The dog can handle himself. He's already
And, the,
killed
it,
two
it,
people.
and Beast did. He's like, all right, there's a big hole here. I'm getting out.
Yeah, and he got out, which I didn't understand. Like, the window was open.
Yes.
Why didn't you just jump out the window? Whatever. I was like, the whole time, I'm like, when's he going to jump out the window? And then he's like digging. I'm like, what is he doing? The window is wide open.
Yep.
Whatever.
All right. Number of good boys out of 10 for me. I mean, I do enjoy this movie a lot. I enjoyed it when I saw it. Just because maybe it's nostalgia because I go, okay, this is us coming back to form in horror movies, and I like seeing it. You know, but do I like it? You know what? I like the same. I'm going 8.5 good boys out of 10 for this one. How about you?
Yeah, I definitely won't go that high. Like I said, I don't think it's quite at rewatching level. So I'm gonna say it's like 6. Six good boys out of 10.
Okay, perfectly fair. All right. Well, why don't you bring us into our last one for this episode?
All right, Hills Have Eyes 2, having no relation to the other Hills Have Eyes 2, even though it's written by the same guy. Yeah. So this one is about okay, the opening scene is I don't like it. It's a lady giving birth. Obviously the lady has been like tied down to a table for an extended period of time, and we know that because they keep zooming in on her feet and showing how long her toenails are, and they are like, okay, there's like vampire long, and then this is like disturbingly like nauseating long. I mean, it is not pleasant.
Yes.
So yeah, there's like, she's like giving birth to this obviously like deformed baby. And it appears like the baby is like ripping its way out on its own. I don't know what is happening.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, but this is a very graphic birthing scene. I mean, this is the opening scene of the movie. We're talking like she is naked while the opening credits are crawling of the movie. So like, it's like, screenplay by, costumes by, as like literally a naked woman is like giving bloody birth to a deformed baby. It's very bizarre opening scene. So the baby rips its way out, half gets pulled out by some other, hill folk person. And right after she gives birth, appears that the hill folk person just says die and kills her.
Die.
Which doesn't really make sense because, like, if you're using her for breeding, why would you kill her after she has her first child? Because one, now you know that she can have children. Why wouldn't you keep her around to have more children? Obviously, I'm not advocating for this to happen. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense that you would do that. But that's not the last thing we'll find in this movie that doesn't make any sense. So then we cut to what appears to be a group of soldiers fighting through Kandahar. And there's like, we know that because there's a sign on the ground that says Kandahar. So like, oh, okay, they were in Kandahar. So they're like fighting, and there's bullets and sand and, fighting going on. And so they like, running down the street to avoid fire. One guy hits his head, drops his helmet, and then goes, "Oh no, I forgot my helmet." and he goes back, and of course gets exploded and died. So then they're like just completely ignore him, and then they run down the street. Like, some guy comes out and says like, "I don't like America." And so one guy's like, "America's #1," and so he's like, Mr. Alpha Male has to run out and like chase this guy down by himself, and then everybody else begrudgingly follows him. He runs into a building, and they're all shooting at the building, and nothing is happening. And then one guy goes, "I know what to do." And he pulls out 2 grenades, pulls the pins, and stands there. And he's like,
Yep.
"Open the door for me," and everybody's like, "What is he saying?" It's like they finally have to explain, like, oh, the guy pulled pins on grenades, open the door. Oh, okay. So they open the door, he throws in the grenades, big explosion, like everybody flops over, and then some lady starts screaming, "Oh my god, you killed my baby." And then, she comes out and they go, "Oh, we're sorry." And then she opens her, little dress thing and she goes, there's all kinds of grenades, and she goes, "Kaboom. Aha, you all died." And we find out this was just a training exercise, and these people have failed miserably, of course.
Huh.
So yeah, there's like this group of soldiers. I don't even know how many there are.
Say
Most of
12.
most of them don't matter. I'm going to give you one example of the names that they have, and you'll realize why I'm not going to bother with their names. Because the one guy is a big guy who talks with a lisp, and his name is Spitter. Okay,
Yep.
so this is the length. This is like the amount of effort that went into naming these people. Okay, like the one guy's name is like Stump. I mean, it's pointless. They're just soldier people. We don't need to know their names. So we all find out that they're like National Guard people who are apparently doing their one weekend a month or whatever it is. And they're failing miserably. So they failed this training exercise. Now need to go to a rifle range to go, train some more. And then we cut to another area to where there's like people setting up surveillance for like an underground bunker, but it's like a bunker that has the same mannequins that were in the Nuketown and the Hills Have Eyes remake. So this is obviously like, I don't know, some kind of nuke test bunker thing that they're setting up, some kind of surveillance, but it looks like they're hooking up mannequins so that they show up as live people on an infrared camera.
Which is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the point of that would ever be, but that's what they're doing. And so the one guy's setting it up, obviously they lose connection to the feed, so he has to go to like the main junction box. And he's like, "Oh, look, a rat is in it." And it's literally just like a rat laying on top of the thing. He's like, "Oh no, it's all burned out. We got to go get another one. I'll call base." And then it kind of, the guy that was the base, the soldier guy comes in and he goes, "Where's the other guy?" "Oh, he's up on the mountain setting up another camera." He's like, "Oh, no one's supposed to go anywhere without an escort." Says the one soldier, right? There's three guys doing things right now, and there's one soldier, and no one's supposed to go anywhere without an escort. How are they supposed to do anything? Again, this doesn't make any sense. There's only one guy there. So,
Yep.
He's like up there, setting up his camera. He sees a mutant guy who resembles Pluto but is not Pluto. Chewing on, I don't know, a snake or I don't know what the hell he's got. And he's like trying to be nice. He's like, "Hi, my name's Doctor Nobody. What's your name?" He's like, "Run away, run away." What does that mean? And he gets stabbed in the back by, I don't know, soldier hill folk. I don't know what to call him. He's dressed up like a soldier. He thinks he's a soldier guy. So fake Pluto and soldier guy, you know, scream, and then they cut away, and then we do see like the guy, the dude who was setting up the bunker infrared mannequins, torn in half. And the other guy sees like a bunch of like fake, or what he thinks are fake infrared signals in the tunnels. But they're not. They're the other Hillfolk people. We're just supposed to see that the Hillfolk people are in this underground bunker mine area. So the soldier guy goes up to the guy on the top of the mountain to find him. He finds him all dead and gutted, and then he gets stabbed by soldier guy with a spear, who then throws him off the mountain. So then we cut to, the misfit soldiers driving to the rifle range, which apparently is this place with the infrared cameras. I don't know how. There's no other explanation on why they were there. They said to go to the rifle range. I'm pretty sure the rifle range would be like right next to the training area they were in. I don't know why they'd be driving in the middle of nowhere in a, restricted sector of the whatever. They never said like somebody sent them there or anything. No explanation. They just show up there. So they show up there and nobody's there. Obviously there's a lot of stuff around, like, hey, what's going on? They found their like radio that they used to call back, and it was like all smashed up. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. You know, we don't see anybody. So there's like some crackle on the radio. They hear a guy saying he's the colonel, who was like the one soldier guy that was there. But he cuts out, and then they see like a signal mirror coming from the top of the mountain.
Yeah, it's like it must be him up there.
Right, yeah, it must be him. We got to go save him. So they all decide, oh, we're going to go save him. And then the one guy who's like, the Democrat that they're making fun of because he has like a bumper sticker that says like conversation, not confrontation. So anyway, what was it? His name was Napoleon, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so he is like, oh, I'm gonna go, because there's a porta john. And he's like, I'm gonna go in the bathroom, and the guy's like, we're supposed to be pretending like we're in the desert. You can't go in the porta john. Okay. So, then he gets in trouble, and so of course they're all gonna go up to the top of the mountain. And so the sergeant then tells him, like, okay, Napoleon, hold your rifle above your head and stand on one foot until we get back. He's like, okay. And then the one lady has to stay back to try to like get on the radio and contact base to tell them that we're going. But of course, the hills prevent them from having any kind of radio communication, even though they were very clearly in communication with the base before. But it doesn't matter. Now they can't. Now nothing works. So everybody else goes up to the mountain as they're going around in there. One guy like sprains his ankle, falling in like a pit thing. And then, so he sends him back down. He's like, all right, we haven't gone up that far. You go back down to base with the other two, and then we'll keep going. So they keep going up the mountain. There's like areas where they have to like climb up with ropes and stuff and climb up, they have one guy that like free climbs up, and then they climb up the rope and blah, blah, blah. So they're back in we go back to the base. The girl is like trying to call on the radio. Nobody's answering. She's getting like weird, like breathing and stuff sometimes, but that's it. So the dude, now that Sergeant is out of earshot, he's like, well, duty calls, I got to use the bathroom. So he goes to use the bathroom. And as he's using the bathroom, a hand comes up from the porta john. At first he freaks out and he like goes and gets the girl and goes to show her. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what person would in their right mind would ever go into a porta john when somebody comes out saying, hey, you have to come look at this. No way in hell am I going into a porta john to look at something you want me to see. But anyway, so she goes in there, and they see, they see this hand and this guy like, trying to crawl out. So they pull the guy out of the porta john. And it's the guy that was that talked to the soldier in the beginning. And they see he's got like little cuts all over his body. And they make the point of saying like, oh, it looks like they wanted him to die really, really bad and slow. So they cut all these little, cuts on his body. And then they imply that they purposely like pooped a bunch of like pathogen heavy poop in there to like make him sick. Like, oh, well, I know it's got pathogens in it because it smells bad. Right. I don't know why this guy's a shit expert, but anyway, that's what they say. So like they go through all this to pull the guy out, and like they try cleaning him off and stuff, and he just like mumbles like they're here, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's interesting. So then they're like, well, we got to go like tell them what's going on. Like this, obviously something's going wrong. And so Napoleon's like, nope, I'm staying here. And she's like, well, I'm going to go. So she goes running up the mountain. As she goes running up the mountain, some like hillfolk dude jumps down with like a big butcher cleaver. He looks like Mars from the first movie, but he's not. The first remake movie with the cleft lip guy. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so he attacks her with this big cleaver. She dodges out of the way. Napoleon comes in to try to do something. He gets like hit and knocked out like immediately. So she's trying to wrestle with this guy, and then as he's going to come down with a killing blow on her, like he gets shot. And it's guy that had the twisted his ankle has now made it down the hill. And so he shot him. And so he comes all the way down, they're talking about like, oh, are you okay? And then the hillfolk guy gets up and like crawls in this like tiny hole in the rocks. And so they're all like sticking their faces in there, like, oh, I wonder where he went. And of course, the Hillfolk grabs the dude's ankle. So the girl is trying to pull him back, to save him. Napoleon comes over and he's pulling too, but they don't pull. They don't ever pull together. They pull at separate times while she's like trying to like, I can't shoot him in there because the hole is only big enough for his leg. So I don't know what you think you're going to shoot in there. But anyway, so he ends up like, blood starts spraying out of the hole and he gets like folded in half and pulled through the hole in the ground. So at this point they're like, okay, like this is bad. Like bad things are happening. We need to get out of here. So they decide that they're going to follow them up the hill. And then we cut back to the other group of people. And they're moving up the hill and they get like attacked by the soldier hillfolk guy who's like leaping around to different rock formations, like throwing rocks at them and shit. So they're like shooting at him every time he pops up. They hear him, see him, shoot, here, see you shoot, here, see you shoot, here, see you shoot. Oh no, that wasn't him. That was the sergeant coming to ask what the hell they're shooting at. So Spitter and alpha male guy both shoot and kill the sergeant, the actual guy who knows like what he's doing.
Yes.
So he's dead. So now they're all like, oh shit, like what do we do now? And then, they keep going through. I think they find the colonel guy because they don't want to like, they keep trying to get to like the top, but they can't find a way to get down again because they want to just leave. But they stole all the ropes. So the ropes that they were using to get down, they don't have anymore. So they're going to so they basically tie the sergeant's dead body to Spitter, which is rightfully because he killed them, right?
Yeah.
So they tie him to him and they're going to lower him down this rope, to the bottoms, and they're all going to follow behind him. As he's like, about halfway down, the rope snaps and they, and Spitter falls to his death with the sergeant falling on top of him. Alpha male gets upset at Napoleon because Napoleon tied the knot. And then we see later on, like, oh, the rope didn't break. It was cut. It's like, dun, dun, dun. Oh no, there's bad people out here. So then they're like, now we need to get out of here. So they're trying to find all these different ways off the mountain. They keep finding different like dead ends. They eventually find this one dead end, and then they hear something, and they find the colonel guy that was from the beginning. And he's all messed up. He's all bleeding and near death. And he basically kind of gives them the exposition dump of, these are the people that have been living in these mining tunnels for however long. They're dangerous. They're like the boogeyman. Like nobody believed that they were here, and I was like here to try to prove their existence, kind of thing. Like you need to keep the ladies away from them because they will steal them to breed and they will kill and eat the men. And then he goes, good luck, and shoots himself and falls off the mountain. So like, oh crap, what do we do? I know. Let's set up a trap. So they take the girls and they sit them down. They make sure the one girl takes her hair out and sets it down, and takes her jacket off so she only has her tank top on, as, I guess to like, lure them in. So they're like sitting there, like just, having a conversation of like, oh, this is so scary. I don't know what to do. I'm so scared. And we see like the hillfolk guy like sneaking up on him. And then as they sneak up on him, they go, no, and they shoot the hillfolk dude and they find out it's the same guy that attacked her at the bottom of the hill that got shot and then ran away. Okay. Now this is my favorite part of the movie. Immediately after that happens, they're literally still celebrating shooting this hillfolk guy. The one girl goes off by herself to go take a leak, right?
Yep.
And of course gets captured by, I'm going to call him the Thing hillfolk because he looks like he's covered in rocks.
Yeah.
So he grabs her and he like goes into the mine, right? The thing that, they know not to go into because they're going to die if they go in the mine. So they're like, oh, well, we have to go save her. We have to get her, they're going to do bad things to her. We have to go in. So they go in. I'm trying to think who's left at this point. It's
Well, you have
alpha male, wall climber, the one girl, Napoleon, and the stump, the guy with the Zoolander hair.
Yes.
Okay, so they go in there. So they're climbing in there. Stump immediately goes like, "Hey man, like we're not supposed to go in this mine. Like, you know, the colonel guy said we're gonna die if we go in here." And they're like, "Yeah, but we, you know, our friend, we're all together. We have rifles. We'll be okay." And he's like, "Nah, I'm out." So he's like, "I'm gonna go just climb down the mountain by myself." So he goes free climbing down the mountain by himself. He gets caught by soldier hill folk who like holds him up and chops his arm off with his, you know, cleaver thing that he has. And then he falls and dies literally right next to Spitter and the sergeant. So then we go back to everybody else. Yeah, I think there's just 4 of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 of them. So they're going through, they eventually like find this kind of dead end. They find the girl's phone because she actually had like a son. And this was the phone that she was watching a video of her son, which is kind of funny because this is a 2007 phone. So it has the big, huge, like physical buttons for numbers, and then the screen is like, you know, an inch square. But yeah, that was top of the line back in 2007.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, they're like, oh, well, she dropped this phone. There must be a way to go. They find like this slide, and they go down the slide, and the slide is blocked by rocks. Now, how the hell would the rock guy with someone in his arms slide down this thing with those rocks in the way? I don't know. Not explained. Doesn't matter. So they kick the rocks out of the way. They all get down there. And then they're walking and they find like a little area with water. And then as they're walking through the water, like another, I don't know, like sinkhole thing opens up. So they get separated. So it's Napoleon and the one girl, the radio girl. And then the wall climber guy and alpha male are still up on top. So they're going to go find their own way. So wall climber and alpha male are going through. They find another hillfolk guy who's like trying to do like guerrilla warfare, like run past and hit him kind of thing. And they eventually find him by just like shooting blindly. And then they eventually accidentally hit him. And of course, when they accidentally hit him, they're out of ammo at that time. So they have to like, you know, fight him, and they break him smash his head with a rock, I think, or something.
Yes.
Anyway, so at this point in time, they meet up with Napoleon and the lady, who get pulled in by fake Pluto hillfolk guy, who is like trying to help them. You know, he's like being friendly and he's like not trying to eat them. So they're like, okay, we can be friends.
Yes, he's the Ruby,
right?
In this one,
right. But like I said, he looks like Pluto from the first one.
Yes.
So they're like in there, like, okay, this kind of a safe play. That's fine. And then they hear alpha male and wall climber, and they're like, oh, hey, come on in here. You know, we'll go in there. But before that happens, or no, I think that's when they come back. Whatever. There's another hillfolk that has glasses on that can't see. And he has a rifle, and he manages to shoot wall climber guy with the gun, even though he can't see. And then they're able to somehow kill that guy. So that guy's down. The one guy that was the rock dude was the guy that they randomly beat with a rock. So they were able to get out there. So it's just the 4 of them. But as they're being led through by fake Pluto, he's leading them to like the stripping area where you see like all the shoes and the clothes and the, you know, suitcases from all the people that they brought in and killed. And then he actually brings them into like their butcher area where you see like, you know, hanging up, you know, corpses and bodies. They see a couple of their buddies in
like half carved up.
Yeah, half carved up in there. At this point, we realize the wall climber guy, what he said was a fine shot. He was going to survive. We find out he actually got shot twice, and one of them was a deadly shot, and he just dies.
Yeah.
So they go, oh, we can't leave him here. We need to bring him with us. So yeah, alpha male drags him into the next scene, and then proceeds to leave him there anyway. And he goes, "Don't worry, I'll come back for you." So yeah, the guy, fake Pluto, who was supposedly leading them out, led them into a dead end. And then there's no way out. There's like a bunker door that they can't open, and then like you know a cave that's like a cave wall that's like caved in or something. And then there's like, oh, I think I see some boxes in there. So he's trying to like open up the boxes. He finds it's dynamite. As soon as he grabs a box, like fake Pluto goes, oh, that's dangerous, and he runs away, never to return.
Correct.
And then the other two are like, well, we got to go back for the girl. Like even if this is the way out, we got to go get her. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just getting out of here.
She's dead anyway.
Yeah, she's dead anyway. I'm going to stay here. So whatever. So Napoleon and the other girl go back in to find her. This dude like pulls out the dynamite, which is apparently attached to a detonator. As he's pulling it out, the detonator falls and triggers, and then all the dynamite blows up, and then he's dead.
Yep.
So then we go back to the other two, and then I guess interdispersed with this, but I'll just say it now. There's scenes of another hill folk who's like the dad. If you look at the credits, I think his name is like Papa Hades, but they never say his name. He's just like the alpha hill folk.
Yeah.
So he like grabs the girl and like is like basically sexually assaulting her. And thankfully,
baby.
Yeah, it's like thankfully they don't show like too much, but it's enough to not be nice. It's right. Disturbing a bit. And like I said, they keep cutting back to it. Like I think like a little too often. You're like, okay, we know that this is happening. We don't need to keep getting updates on what's going on. Like nobody cares. So eventually the Napoleon and this lady, they find her and they trick Papa Hades by she took her phone and she's like, oh, I'll be right back. And she comes back in like 3 seconds, and she apparently put the phone like 10 minutes away because like she plays the phone, who she can somehow hear the video of her son, like, super far away. And he wanders and finds the phone, but it takes him like minutes to find it, to catch up to. So anyway, and while they're doing that, they're like cutting, the other girl away from the weird bonds that she was being held with. And as they get her and they go to escape, there's like a weird long scene where Napoleon's like, should I go get the guy? Should I not go get the guy? And they're both like, don't get him. Just let's get out of here. And there's like an unnecessarily long scene where he's standing there. And then of course the guy busts through the wall and there's a big fight. The girl had one bullet left because she was saving it for herself, because she didn't want to be assaulted. I get that. I feel that.
Yeah.
So she takes that one bullet out. She puts it in her rifle that she was still carrying around anyway. And then shoots him in the head, which doesn't really seem to affect him all that much. He's like disconcerted at first and then continues to keep attacking them. And then he like grabs her and holds her up against the wall. Napoleon stabs him like all the way through with a spear. Which
barely missing her.
Yeah, well, because she like spread her legs apart fast enough, so it didn't hit her. But it again doesn't really bother him. So she sticks her hand into his head wound and starts pulling out chunks of brain. Until eventually she pulls out one that like shuts down his motor functions, and he just falls over. So then they're like, okay, let's now we can leave and get out of here. And of course he's not dead yet. And he grabs her, and then another fight, another stab, blah, 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 whatever. He's finally dead. And then they walking out of the mine, and then we get like a little blurb saying like, oh, they were never, the families were never told what really happened to these people. The government still denies anything wrong is going on in Sector 16. End of movie.
Oh, we also get the setup for the next one, where there's a hillfolk hand watching the monitors that were set up in anger.
Oh yeah, it's like a fingerless glove with barbed wire bracelet that goes.
Yeah,
I'm angry.
To set up the one that did come after this.
Yeah, what a shock!
I know, right? All right. Why don't you just roll into your first thoughts and rewatch?
Um, again, it's like this movie. It did the same exact thing that the other sequel did. It every single character is unlikable. Every
Yeah.
single one. You don't care what happens to any of these people. They're all annoying. They're all fucking like just assholes. Like every single person dies, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, please, just keep killing them. I want them to shut up. Like, like alpha male dude, like never stops being an alpha male, even when his life is in danger. He's still like threatening other people all the time. Like everybody is just like so one dimensional. Like they never ever change. Like, I don't know. It's just every single person is unlikable. Like even the hill folk are just boring in this one. There's not a whole lot to them. They're definitely downgraded in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw this one in the theaters too. And like I said, surprisingly written by Wes Craven. Clearly, he cannot write sequels to this. So the remake he didn't write. Right, it's all based on his characters.
Well, it was based on his original screenplay, so I guess he gets at least half rating credit.
But the next step he can never do because like they set up a planned sequel. Like, oh, we're gonna leave this for number 3. Never happened. Once again, the second one killed the series.
Right.
And it's just like, it's just everyone is unlikable. Like you don't root for anyone at all.
No.
And it was just a bland thing, even though it came out a year later. And I think the first one did good enough too for them to go, hey, we're not wait 7 or 8 years for the next one. Let's do that.
Right. Yeah. And they again. I mean, the remake was good enough to where you're like, okay, yeah, I can see making another one. But yeah, this one was just lame.
Yeah. So do you have any highlights from this?
Okay, I try to at least have one highlight, right, from like every movie. Something, even if it's something stupid or funny. I was sitting here thinking I could not think of one. I honestly can't think of one. There's some things that aren't bad, but there's nothing that's better than mediocre. Like just everything in this movie is just either mediocre or bad. There's like nothing that stands out as being like something you'd consider a highlight, like something interesting. It's just not there. There's just nothing. I guess I don't know what to even say about that because I was thinking about it for a while, like a stupid long time. I'm like, I got nothing.
No. Yeah. I mean, they didn't have the dog. It was like they just tried to outdo themselves to the point of it just not good. Like, I agree. There's not really highlights, and it's a like, hey, how do we expand this? And like, once again, they pick like, hey, we're gonna have a platoon of armed forces, right? Let's get every stereotype in existence and give them those character traits.
Right, but it's like everybody's like annoying and like angry with each other. Like, dude, no commanding officer would ever put up with that shit.
No,
like never.
No.
So I understand if it just popped up after the commanding officer was gone, but no, they were assholes the whole time.
Yeah, and this is going to the low points. Is they set up more depth to the lore, and maybe they're going to explore it, but didn't. Like I guess the most interesting thing is they continued with like the mannequins in the bunker and stuff like that as well.
It was very limited though. They didn't like revisit that town. It was like a totally different like area. Like they mentioned the mines in the first one. It's not like it wasn't there. It just they never went into the mines.
Right. And we go back to the original, a lot of stuff happens in the daylight. A lot of stuff happens in the remake in daylight. They go into the mountain and it's so dark.
Yep.
So dark and so like I guess the best I can compare it to would be like darkness wise, The Descent,
Yeah, that's fair.
but with Hills Have Eyes.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I remember seeing the post credit or the end credits of that hand. I go, okay, maybe they'll do something more interesting. Maybe they'll get rid of the soldier people, because it always, unfortunately, seems to be a case and stuff like this. Is always the natural progression is like a platoon of armed forces. Now, did Aliens do it well? Yes, it did. Did this? Not at all.
Nope.
You know, I don't think it was necessarily good in Alien Resurrection. They're mercenaries, but still almost a platoon like thing.
No, I mean, Alien Resurrection is almost a great movie. Almost a great movie. There's a lot of things that hamstrung it, but it was almost a good.
But let's get into. I know you really couldn't think of highlights, but low points though.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short. I don't want to continue going for too much longer. But okay, that birth and toenail scene man, it's just unnecessary. It is like the first scene of the whole movie. It is by far the worst scene of the whole movie. And they literally started it like the opening crawl is this scene.
Yes.
I mean, it's like they're setting you up. You're like, oh, this one's gonna hit hard, and it does. Nope. Every other punch after this is held back. This is the big punch that pops you first, and then you're waiting for that knockout blow, and it never comes. It's just the big old bluff that this was the rest of the movie. It's not. 2 is, I mean, the Porta-John death. 1, it's super super gross. 2, like, do you know how long you would have to be in there in order for like an infection to set in to die that fast? Like, they weren't there for that long. I mean, like, only a few hours. Like, look at that colonel guy, right? He was still alive, and he was like stabbed and thrown off a mountain. Like, he wouldn't survive longer than a day.
No.
Right? So you're talking like he was in there for like less than a day. Like, I'm sorry, but that's not how infection works. It doesn't happen in 24 hours. You might get the infection, but you're not going to die from the infection in 24 hours.
Correct.
So again, it was extremely super gross and just doesn't make any sense. 2, 3. Everyone's just, again, unlikable. You don't care what happens to any of these people. They're just all just miserable people. I mean, I guess the one you feel the worst for is the girl that gets captured and gets like assaulted by Papa Hades or whatever. I guess that's the one that you feel any sympathy for. The rest of them are just annoying. And I also felt bad for the poor girl who was like, she was just a soldier, and they're like, oh, well, she's the girl, so she's got to take her hair down and she's got to take her flak jacket off, so she's only running around in a tank top, and she's going to be the only one who does so.
Yep.
Great plan, guys. Yeah, solid plan. Like, why wouldn't she be wearing the same stuff as everybody else? She's a soldier, just like they are.
Correct.
Anyway, and again, this one, I felt like the Hill folk were just a downgrade. They're a downgrade from the remake. They're a downgrade even from the originals. I mean, they're just not fun. They're just like, it felt like they were making like action figure, like Hill folk action figures. They're like, oh, look, there's a soldier one. Oh, look, there's one that has camouflage skills. Oh, look, there's one that has a cleft lip and a cleaver.
Yes.
There's one that, has a big old head with, sloth eyes, and he's got a teddy bear and he's nice. It just felt like, like, again, they were making action figures of Hill folk, and they weren't really giving them any personality. They were just making action figures.
You said they got the basket case 2 and 3 treatments?
Yeah, exactly. Like the people that they look interesting, but they have absolutely zero personality or backstory.
Yeah, it's pretty fair. No, I mean, I completely agree with you on the low points, and it's just, I hated the entire platoon. It's just something with the sequels that you just hate everyone in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it takes a hell of a lot of skill for me to hate 2 entire groups of people without any redeeming qualities at all.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, they tease bigger lore, they tease stuff. Obviously, we're not going to get it. The guy covered in fecal matter, yes, absolutely. And I understand that you know, like these weren't a hardened platoon either. They just finished training.
Well, and again, they're also National Guard,
Yeah,
which are not as heavily trained. Which again, like, there's no explanation as to why they end up there.
correct.
Like, why would a training people who literally just said, "Let's go to the rifle range," end up in the middle of like this restricted military area? Like, why would they be there? There's no explanation.
Correct. Yeah, there's just so many plot holes that just doesn't make any sense. It's leaps and bounds trying to get any reason for them to be there. I'm not saying remake, The Hills Have Eyes too. I'm just saying, didn't need to be that type of remake. But yeah, I mean, Wes was like, cool. I like what you guys did with the remake. I like it. Let's see what I can do with it. And that's what we got.
Yeah, no, I think at this point, the only hope I think the franchise has is if somebody else remakes it again, and then tries to make another sequel after that.
Yes, obviously Wes can't do it.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that would be the only way I see this franchise moving forward from this point.
Yeah, I mean, what I really feel like is like The Hills Have Eyes 2 reached like wrong turn 5 levels within a movie.
That's yeah.
Like, it wasn't a steady downgrade. It was like good, and then this, like nothing in between.
It's fair.
So, all right. Well, then, how many good boys out of 10 do you give us?
Man, it's rough. It's rough. I'm gonna say 2.5 good boys out of 10.
2.5. One less good boy than the first one, huh?
Yes.
I am agreeing with you. 2.5. This is. I'd rather watch The Hills Have Eyes 2 than this one. Again.
Yeah. Well, again, The Hills Have Eyes 2. There's some interesting stuff there. Most of it is annoying, but there's some interesting stuff. This one is just less interesting stuff.
Yes. So. All right. Well, I think that brings us just about the end of this episode. So let's get your corsets, drink your, I forgot how you said that,
laudanum,
and raise your pinkies. Look down your nose at the lower class peasants as we get Victorian. So next episode, we are doing Victorian era horror movies. We have, why can't I think of them?
From Hell, Crimson Peak,
yes,
and Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, yep. I was just looking down at my notes to that. And remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to. And this has been Graveyard saying, "Have you checked on the children?"
This is Salem saying, "Long live the new flesh."